Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Just waiting for a few more people to jump in. Right, Jose, I'll give you one. Riley one as well. Let's see what else we've got. Hello, hello. Right, who've we got in? Flat and Earth. Sandra, nice to see you in. Ron, nice to see you in, mate, as well. Just going to fill a bit of time today, basically, whilst Nathan's getting his bits and bobs sorted out.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello, hello. Who's this?
Jose.
Jose.
Bendy Bridge.
Bendy Bridge. Bendy train tracks. Are you going to do that yet? Are you gonna make a video of that? Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a video. I was thinking yesterday looking for some beats. MIDI HC. He got some cool beats. I got him. He hooked me up with a bunch, and I gotta make a little remix of it.
Bendy Bridge. So have you done any observations then recently, Jose?
No. Last time I went last week. It was the last video I uploaded with the boat behind a little piece of land reflected underneath, and it's been really crap weather. Hazy, and it was rainy for like 2 days. It stopped earlier in the morning. So it's been really bad weather. Yo.
Hello, hello, what?
No, that's Trav. I can't do
that. Who's at work then?
I'm at work.
You're at work, Chucky.
Yes, sir. I'm a hard-working man.
What is it you do?
I am a assembly technician at a solar battery manufacturing company. Basically, I build green energy machines. Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But it's cool that they let you do live streams as well at the same time.
Yeah, and it's funny because they know, because they'll listen to me while I'm on here, while I'm at work, and they're like, and it's cool because it starts conversation because they listen to me, and then they'll get into it with me, like if I get off later on, and they'll get into it with me back and forth. So I've literally had my entire department sitting here talking about flat Earth. It's hilarious actually, but a couple of them are like, hey, you make a lot of good points, and it's not like they haven't heard of it. So like this whole thing when people say, "Oh, it's dying," well, everyone's at least heard of it at this point. So I don't know about all that "it's dying" shit. So that's a little silly, but it is what it is.
Well,
So how about these new guys that start working over there and they look at you, they say, who's the weird one talking to himself in the corner?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they see me with my headphones on, so they know I'm talking to somebody. And then somebody asked me, who are you talking to while you're working? And I was like, I'm on a debate. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm on a live YouTube debate right now. They're like, what about? And I'm about flat Earth. And they look at me like, what? Like that's very interesting. And this was at first when I first got here. Now they're used to it, so now they kind of sit quietly and listen when I do talk, because I don't talk a lot because it's usually loud or whatever. Obviously, more you guys are doing observations, you have more to throw in than I do, but I try to throw my 2 cents in every once in a while, and they listen. So I've gotten into really heavy, back and forth at work, and I try to do it just to have the conversation out. So that's my little bit of activism I try to do, you know. I guess.
Has anybody else jumped on the
Well, there's a couple of
so to
people, like
speak?
one of my supervisors. He clearly said to me, he was like, you know what? Look, honestly, I don't know about the whole, you know, it's flat, it's bald, but it looks flat. Everything looks flat. I've been in planes. It looks flat. Everything looks flat. Water looks flat. And I'm like, well, just take the basic jump after that. It's just say it is flat because we don't experience anything ball-like, you know, except for the movement of things in the sky. And the guy looked at me and he said, you know what? I mean, it makes sense because it doesn't really look like a ball, and that always confused me. And I was just like, same here. So it is what it is. I mean, it's in the minds of people. And then I've had other people who just walk away like, I can't even have this discussion. And I'm like, okay, no problem. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to do some shout outs to the chat, Ranty? A lot of good people over there in your chat, man.
Yeah, well, first I want to give a
Yeah,
shout out to Sheeps and Neeps. He's the first one I want to give a shout out to.
Yeah.
He's you know, he's been struggling fighting this cancer for several months now, and I think Sandra's put a PayPal link in the side chat. So if anybody feels that they can help donate towards his financial needs to get this treatment that he's going to be going through, then just click the link, and then, you know, every pound counts, I would imagine, especially in that situation. So shout out to Sheeps and Neeps, even though we haven't seen eye to eye, but at the end of the day, we're all family at the end of the day. So there we go. Sarah Christina, nice to see you in. Ron Hanberg, got Curve, Julie Bennett. There's a few people in. Constance Bruns, nice to see you in, mate. He always makes comments on my videos, which is good.
Constance is lovely. I like her a lot. She always, you know, supporting us in our in everything we produce. And I heard her. She's kind of a. She always called to the Mark Sargent show, and I heard her voice. And he go like, "Hey, Constance, what's up?" I said like, "Is this the same Constance in the chat?" And yeah, that's her. Lovely voice. So nice girl with a lovely voice. Shout out to Constance Bruns. Boom.
Do you want a link, Constance? I can sort you out a link if you want one. If you want to join the panel.
It's funny where she's actually very close to me. So we might actually do like a little bit of a meetup at some point down the line. Because she's really close to me. So shout out to Constance.
And
shout out to Sarah
Audio.
Christina. Welcome back, Sarah. Good to see you.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of Hyena recently. I know he's been active in the in my Facebook group, but he's not been active. I haven't seen him very much on.
I see him pop up every once in a while, but yeah, I haven't seen him the way he used to be. So shout out to Hyena. I love Hyena.
Yeah, I think I heard or he posted something about his working schedules. He's working a lot, so he's missing all the morning goodies over here in the Flat Earth debate.
So, anybody got any news? Anything new on Flat Earth?
Yeah, today, January the 4th, it was supposed to be the day that my wife was going to be driving me to New Orleans to punch a train to meet with Soundly and others to do the punch a train observations. We were going to hang out for 3 days. First, I didn't get my days approved at work. I was still going to get that. I was still going to miss the days at work. But I got the hours were cut at work. They cut me short for the last few weeks, and I was struggling to even pay the rent and the electrical bills. So yeah, I didn't make it. I mean, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but I will try to make it as soon as possible in the next month or two. And yeah, even if it's myself, I'm gonna whenever I'm ready to go, whenever I'm economically set, and I got a couple $100 for gas and for a hotel room for a night, I will let everybody know, and communicate with Stanley to see if he's gonna make it, even at least him and myself. If he doesn't go, I will go because I want to go with a P900 and do the observations right. Yeah, I feel bad that I didn't make it. I really wanted to hang out and meet all these bowlers and guys and chat with them and make a little live stream, but it didn't happen. Oh well, shit happens. It will happen in the near future.
Excellent. I've just spoke. I think Constance wants to come on, so I'm just going to email her the link right now. Right, so you should have that link right now. I've just sent it to you. I'm going to post another link actually, which is last night myself and Martin Leedke from Flat Earth British. We pre-recorded with Paul on the Plane a podcast, so that'll be being released, I believe, tomorrow. So I'm just going to pop that in the side, which is a link to the actual promotional video. It'll be on Dome Life with Paul on the Plane, released tomorrow. So if you want to listen into that, and I highly recommend you going over and subscribing to Martin right now, because he is doing exceptional work with our history. It will blow your mind. Have you been?
We're getting the premiere before the actual show come out, eh? Awesome.
Right, Arwin's stream is now finished, which is cool. I see, plain and simple. 60 people watching. It's pretty cool.
Yesterday, Arwin went crazy, like 4 hours. Wow. He actually left the hangout. He went to the market to buy goodies, and he just left us in the hangout. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was
4
like,
hours hangout.
I'm hungry, guys. Can I leave you guys and let me go get something to eat? And we were like, okay, go ahead, man. We'll hold it down as long as somebody got the backpack, because I can't do that. I'm on the phone. Can't do any of that. We were like, okay. Hey, Constance.
Well, hello, Constance.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hiya. How are you doing, Constance?
Much better, thank you. Getting better every day. Let me turn this off.
Hi, guys. Hiya. How are you doing, Constance?
Okay, I'm all yours.
How are you today, Constance?
Much better, chocolate.
Chocolate. I love that. I love everybody's variation of chocolate. I like being the only chocolate in Flat Earth. Awesome.
I imagine if we were to end up at a conference someplace, you could put a blindfold on me and I'd be identifying everybody by their voice.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So is this Constance which is this the Constance?
Constance Bruns, yeah.
The one and only.
We finally get to meet. I thought you were a troll. I wasn't sure whether you were a troll, whether you just everywhere I went. I didn't know if you had GPS. I might ask.
No, I like I said, I think your notifier's on crack.
Yeah.
Very supportive because you're always hanging out in the Flat Earth debate with Nathan, Ranty, and all of us. You know, you follow us and you comment in our videos, and I really appreciate you. Yeah, checking up on us.
It's very much mutual. I learn a lot from listening and watching. I can't express how deep my gratitude is and how much I miss the debate. As much blood, sweat, and tears as is involved, it really has an effect, a very, very deep impact. And the tide is changing.
Is this the first time you've been on a hangout?
Yes. No. With you guys, yes, first time. I've been on one with Night School. Zulu one and Shauna and Mishka. And I've been with now UCTV, the virtual house church. Once I went on. But it's been quite a growth experience for the last 4 years. Oh my goodness. I don't recognize myself.
You
So
have
can
been
I
on
ask
this
all
for
the,
about 4 years, Constance. Wow.
Yeah.
can I ask all the obvious questions? Like, how did you come to Flat Earth? Or am I late to the table and they've already been asked?
No, that's fine. Well, I remember telling you, Anthony, that when in 1985, I was at a Bible college, and a friend of mine that I grew up with in Brazil, we were just laying on the grass looking up at the stars. And it was a very clear but dark night. The moon wasn't out. And something just blurted out of me. I said, it looks like an upside down bowl of jelly with sparkles in it. And we didn't make anything of it. She doesn't even remember that I said that. But she is now in Canada. She also became a missionary back to Brazil for many years. And she's back in Canada and they're still active. And one day she pops up in my Facebook and says, how you doing? And we started talking and she goes, I've been racking my brain. Okay, that's after, but she said she had been someone dropped the bomb in her lap on a Friday about flat Earth, and she couldn't sleep after that. And her husband was away on a trip. And she said, I'm trying to find out everything I can before he gets home so I can make up my mind. I said, take your time and do it together. You're better off. And they are flat earthers, but they have to be quiet because they're in a part of Canada that they're part of a big church, and they would literally be told you're crazy. So they're waiting.
It's a good thing I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah. My story was I was searching for something was missing in my life. Things just weren't working out. Things didn't make sense. I knew I was being lied to. I knew 9/11 was completely off the wall, screwy. It was not right. I knew JFK wasn't right. I knew all kinds of stuff just from observing and understanding how human nature works. There were things that just didn't make sense. And as things started falling together, it just drew me into a deeper search, sort of like what Bible literalists would describe, researching, coming to conclusions on my own, not just trusting what I'd been taught, but actually looking and verifying things as much as is possible. There is an element of faith because we don't know stuff. We can only decide whether it passes the snuff test or not, the sniff test. Anyway, everyone heard Obama say we don't have time for the meeting of a flat Earth society, and I did a complete double take. And I went looking. By then, I had already decided that Christianity wasn't what it was written up to be, and that the world wasn't what we were told it was. And when that came around, I was ready. I was like, wow. And heard about Rob Skiba, checked into his stuff, and things started to make sense. And from then on, it's just been this, I guess it's a roller coaster ride, but it's more like, I can show you the world, that the ride on the carpet. It's like I can see from higher up. It's amazing.
Well, but about what time is when you came across the Flat Earth debate on Nathan Oakley's channel?
It's
in the
been,
beginning or before or about what?
no, I think after, was Issa part of your panel for a while?
No, but Isa was doing his own.
Okay, because I remember he had been arguing and then he started having his own. I mean, he was on several spots and I didn't catch him till after he started his own. And I saw Nathan Oakley in there. You guys would come in and talk with him.
On ISIS.
Right?
Well, I just want to pass a message on from Isa he put in the chat because he said that you wouldn't actually probably see this. He's put, Constance, so beautiful and nice to see you. Run to your chocolate, read the message to her because you probably can't see it. But
Thank
yeah.
you, because I turned off the chat thing. So,
so yeah, he's
that's so sweet of you, Issa. I really just, I adore your work and I love you. But that it's all synchronicity. It's just amazing how timing is everything. And I walked into his room. I enjoyed the music. I met you guys and I started watching the debates and I was just soaking it up like a sponge. And as the points are made and as the research comes available and it all starts getting incorporated into the conversation where we establish things, what are actual evidentiary and proofs, and how the logic of arguing works, and how the philosophy plays, and how the political effects play in, and all that, and you separate it all out. I have been amazed at how much a person can learn just by hanging out with the right people.
Yeah, Chocolate's on the panel now, and so is Jose,
yes.
purely from the debate show, I believe. Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I started joining Hangouts, it was in Nathan's show. I used to watch it for many shows until I Riley asked for some friendlies in the chat. He said, "Hey, we need friendlies to avoid the trolls to jumping in," and that was the first time I jumped in the panel.
Yes.
And now I got a Jeranism P900 and I'm doing observations myself and I'm speaking up, so I'm happy where this have taken me. So yeah, thank you, Nathan, thank you, Riley, and thank you guys. Yeah, you guys are ace.
Yeah,
I agree completely. And people who say it's useless for this show, I think you're very wrong. There are people who don't know anything about this and want to learn, and we can learn from each other. And even if we get things wrong, we can go back and research and get things right eventually. I mean, I'll never say I'm some type of master debater, but I've learned a lot better, a lot more. So I think that's progress.
Yeah, it refines your message.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I'm sorry.
I think one of the best things that if you're 50-50 about whether or not it might be flat or whether or not it might be spherical, just go on YouTube and just type in time footage and look at any plane flying long haul. And you've got to look at that. And what you've literally got to do is you've got to make it in your mind appear that plane's flying over a globe and it's bending its nose down all the way. It's like literally following the curve of an Earth. And when you watch it and you watch the time lapse, and even if you speed it up, you can see that thing, whatever that plane is doing, you can see what it's not doing.
Yes.
Is it doing what it looks like it's doing, or is it somehow conforming to a ball that we just can't tell? And it appears to be flat. It just does appear to be flat. Yes. It's hard to imagine a plane flying around a curve when you're looking at it over a flat plane. In no curve, definitely no arcing, no curving. It's bizarre. Just look at long distance or flight, long, what's it called, time lapse cockpit footage, and you'd be gobsmacked at how flat it looks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what you was saying before, which was that when the debates came out, it has been kind of an evolution of our position from where we started to where we are right now. And every debate, I know what you were saying. You were saying it does feel like it's been a bit of a drag to get to this stage, but every debate, something was taken out of each debate. and it was like a building block.
Yeah.
And each debate, each week that went by, okay, fair enough, we might have stayed on a particular subject for 2 weeks, but at the end of that 2 weeks, we had an answer. You know, we didn't let that particular question drop until we actually got some kind of resolution from it. And we had all kinds of people going out and trying to find out the answers and coming back until we actually had a consensus as to what was actually happening. And like you say, this is where we've ended up. From where we've ended up to where we've ended up now, everybody's so much more enlightened to our position now. And I just can't wait for the next year. Just can't wait.
Exciting times we live in, no doubt.
I do know what the revisions are going to be for the next Nathan Oakley show. He's going to be trialing a different approach. It's still going to be a publicly available link. It's just going to be done slightly different. So we're not going to necessarily use the Hangouts as I understand it as of now. We are still going to use the Hangouts, I think, but I think he's going to morph from them to something else where he's got more control. So that, and leave them on mute until he decides to bring them off mute. Because obviously there are people that join, and then although they get muted, like Rumpus, for instance, he immediately removes the mute button and continues rambling on. And there's no point. He gets criticised by the ballers for the mute button, but you have to understand that they're deliberately to obfuscate the points because they don't want these points getting concluded. They have to avoid it at all costs. And that's what me and Nathan realised it in the Isle of Man stuff. Yeah, we dwelled on it for a while because it was interesting to see how far out this stuff is. But we realised that these guys literally expose themselves because they can't allow certain points to get through. They have to obfuscate all the time. And if there's a point where they're getting cornered, they will come out fighting and fighting and fighting. And it ends up being a mess. But the reality is it's because they can't explain things like gravity, have gas pressure without a container, without there's no evidence for it, but they all believe it, and that's why we're here to question it, because without that evidence to prove that it's true, it's just a story. It's a lovely story, and everyone was told it when we were in school, but that don't make it true. And that's really what we're trying to prove. What is the truth?
And that is the question. If there had been proof, actual evidence of the globe, we would have found it by now.
I got a slightly different question for Constance here. Constance, which one is your favorite, if any, of the ballers that jump on the Nathan show? Like, let's say the Rumpus, George Natinug, Timmy Osman, P. Mars, one of those. What do you think about those guys? What's your take on them? Like, sincerely, I wanna hear a fresh take on this.
I don't even want to mention their names.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah.
I hope. I really do love everyone. I don't like everybody, but I love everyone. And I believe that they're missing something. They're missing something huge.
Yeah, brain.
If they were to find it, they were to accept it, they would be so much happier. And to see their misery, to see their anger and their vitriol is just proof. It's evidence that they are struggling. They are in trouble and they don't know how to get out. And most of them don't even want to get out. They think this is what it is. And we're the dumbasses and we're the idiots and, the retards. And
the not wanting to get out is the whole point of it.
Constance,
they don't want to.
If you don't mind, I'm going to react.
Grow up. Hi, guys, by the way.
Hey, Arwen.
Constance, if you don't mind, I'm going to re-ask Chocolate's question because I want to know the answer. Not
Okay.
Chocolate, Jose. Who is your favorite? Who is the baller that you like? I was going to say like the most, but let's call it the least. Who's the one that you can put up with the most?
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Come on.
I don't want to go there.
No, you can't do
right.
that because you know what will happen.
No, I think let's rephrase the question.
Everyone has their own unique terrible, man. Okay.
Which one? Which one do you prefer? Yeah.
Okay.
Which one do you rather hear joining the panel and having a discussion with? Which one do you rather hear for a longer time?
The pilot that Nathan had to beat down, and Arwen said, "Come talk to me."
Pilot Wolfie.
What's that, Jimmy?
No, not Wolfie. No.
Was
That
it
Jimmy, the one with
imposter
the
guy?
distance to the sun? Yeah, the distance to the sun. Yeah.
The one who said, I don't see curvature, but
The imposter
I
guy,
assume
right?
it's there.
The imposter guy that posed like he was a pilot, but then when we actually went into the details of the crafts and everything, he didn't know anything. That guy?
I didn't know that happened, Arwen. That's amazing.
He was a poser. He was a complete liar.
Wow.
I'm not sure that she's referring to that guy. Come on, let's hear a bit more about who is this person.
The one that Nathan was literally beating down, and he says, "You don't have to be so like that." And Arwen said, "Come talk. Let's go talk."
I don't remember any pilots.
Oh, he said he was
Well, we'll have to do
I think we're talking about the same guy, but I think our conversation was in the back chat. Was like afterward.
You got back chat after. So you determined he wasn't a pilot.
Well,
there was a guy
he was missing baseline knowledge that any noob pilot in training should absolutely learn. It's like the first things you learn, like altitude, meter, all the basics, and he didn't even get it straight.
The basics that even I, who am not a pilot, am able to transmit in Twitter and have someone who is a pilot completely lose their patience.
Exactly.
All right, so let me ask the question back to Jose. Jose, who is your preferred baller that you like the most?
Oh man, you're killing me. You know what? I used to like the Rumpus a lot, but now Rumpus just obfuscate. Not anything else.
Hall of Fame, and I just I'd rather encourage people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's good. I like the way you think.
I had quite a day yesterday where synchronicity was happening, and I'm not a people might call me religious. I'm not religious. I'm probably on the spiritual side, but I'm things were just flowing. Let me just put it that way. And what I learned in the last 2 weeks has had me watching what I say, what comes out of my mouth has an impact on my world. It has an impact on my body. It has an impact on my children. It has an impact on my abode. And anyone that I speak to and have contact with, I'm so fully aware now that I don't even want to say bad things. I've shared that I've applied for a job and that I've been waiting to hear. And it turned out that the message I was given was incorrect, which delayed my response to the employer. And I just found out at 5 o'clock this morning, I needed to respond to this email that I didn't know I had received. So I went looking for it, took care of it. And instead of cussing and fuming and being angry at my son for delivering an incorrect message, I just sat back and said, I've been sick all this time, but I'm getting better. I would have been no good at work. I would have aggravated the illness. So everything's working out as it should. So why would I be dismayed? Why should I invest energy into something negative when I can just take it for what it is? It's something good.
Yes.
And as appropriate and in order and in the proper time, in the proper place, and everything's working beautifully. And the day I had yesterday was the crowning moment of 4 years in my life. I can say that with great assurance. I'm getting grown up for this. All of you are. Everyone is. Some are flowing with less entanglements, and some are still dealing with a lot of entanglements. And that's what it is getting rid of the garbage so that you can make room for the real thing. And one of the little axioms that I keep throwing out now is fake doesn't feed you. And you got to know what the real thing is so you can spot fake faster. So I recommend highly that people connect to the source of our existence and get to know that, the whom. And I can assure you it is the most rewarding, the most life-changing, the most life-giving, and the most lovely thing, beautiful thing that can happen to a person in their whole life.
Energy
Thank you for that. I
transformation.
appreciate that.
Yes, beautiful.
Beautiful words indeed, yeah. Beautiful words.
I see you are very, very passionate. Even in the comment section, I can read you. And before I even saw you, the way you look, I say, she's so passionate about this subject, because the other day when Ranti was having the hangout and showing videos and he was showing my video, whatever, you were like, this is so, like, so beautiful. I'm tearing up or whatever. And I could imagine you, because some of this footage is beautiful and you don't know. I mean, some people is missing these details that are happening around us every single day, and they don't have this power of seeing a little closer to see the details and all the atmospheric bullshit. I'm sorry for the word, but the stuff that is going on, that is actually beautiful to look at if you see it. Not even in a flat air of globe Earth, nothing related to. It's just a beautiful world we live in with all these conditions and stuff that we don't understand when we're trying to figure out. And yeah, it's really cool to share that with all of you.
The art of nature itself.
Yes.
The pattern.
Truth is beautiful. Truth can be ugly too, but truth won't trick you. And truth, love, and life are all the same thing.
I think the way
get down to the bones of it. To love is to live. To live is to truth, and to truth is to love. And anything apart from that is just bad. It's not good enough. And a long time ago, I started by deciding that I didn't want to settle for anything but the real thing. And that started the elimination, a very long process of elimination of things that just didn't work, weren't good for me. And it brought me to where I am today. And every day is just, there's a lot of quiet time. There's a lot of time to think and time to talk things out. I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 30-year-old son. So I get the spectrum of thought. And one is, I'd like to say autistic, but it's more like Asperger's. And the daughter is completely amazing. She's aware. She is very loving. She's got bravery and strength that comes from trial and testing, and from all of us going through our personal hells and coming out on the other side going, wow, I wouldn't want to go through that again. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I'm glad that it revealed something in me. It showed me what I had and showed me what I don't have and what I need to go after. So everything is a test, really. And it's not a test in the sense that to knock us down, but it's meant to prove the gold, to get rid of the junk and get down to the real thing in us. And we're part of something bigger. So
I want to ask all of you guys on the panel to do with the flat earth debate. And I'm going to ask for Constance's opinion afterwards. Put you last. We'll not put you first. Jose, are you there?
Yep.
All right, Ranty, would you mind sharing my screen? I don't mean to hijack this point, but I want to ask people's opinion because I think this is ludicrous. Well, I want to see whether or not it's me that's being ludicrous or is it others. Let me know when we're on, Ranty.
I see you.
Yeah, you're on.
All right. So the question that I'm asking, and it's a genuine question for everybody to answer, is this is the picture of Pikes Peak from 130 miles away, 132 miles away, and obviously we see Pikes Peak in the background. Now, mathematically speaking, my position is that none of this should be seen because all of it should be behind the curve. But I've been having a back and forth with Ruhif, and Ruhif claims, well, if this mountain is 132 miles away, as a percentage, we'll call that 100% of the distance that we can see. We see these trees in the foreground, and we see that these are obviously maybe 4, 5, 6 miles away, however far away, but they're very close. So as a percentage, I would say they're probably maybe 5% of the distance that we can see. The question is, where would you put the two ridges that we see in the middle ground? How far back would you say that they are? Would you say that they are? So we're going to go with 100% being the total distance. I'm going to quantify these two ridges. I'm assuming that you can see the ridges. I'm going to say that this ridge behind, the one that's blocking the base of the mountain, I'm going to say that ridge is probably 85% of the distance. And I'm going to say the ridge in the foreground is probably 60%. And the reason why I say that relative to the 132 miles, my position is that these two ridges are clearly in the background. Do you guys, anybody have a different view on the location of these two ridges relative to the thing in the background?
No, I would have said about two-thirds of the way.
I could agree with that, yeah.
Suggest to you that literally the one that's blocking the base of the mountain was just 25 miles away. How strongly would you agree with that comment?
I don't think so. I don't see it.
No.
25 miles of 132. This is what Ruhif thinks. Ruhif thinks that the thing to the mountain, the furthest ridge back, is only 25 miles away. Now, for me, I look at how pale the colour is, or pale the shade is, and I realise that the bit in front of the mountain is not that much less pale. Yeah, it is a little bit less pale because it is a little bit closer to us, but it's not that much more. And if this was really 25 miles away, I would expect this to be not just a blur in the background of a pale whitey coloured mist. I would expect it to have form and see buildings and stuff, because I know what Blackpool Tower looks like when I look 30 miles, and 25 miles is like smaller, is closer than that by 5 miles. So for me, I would expect that if this was really 25 miles away, the way Ruhif believes it is, then I would expect this colour, the tone, to be a lot more like the darkness of these trees, because I would say it's very much in the foreground relative to the 130 miles mountain in the background. But Ruhif's position is that he thinks this is 25 miles away, so less than 1/4 of the distance. Well, I think that's like at least 2/3 of the distance, probably nearer to 3/4. But nonetheless, it's definitely not in the middle ground or the close foreground because of the tone, the tone on the building. But he's got it in his head. He's got it absolutely in his head that this is the curvature of the Earth, and the Earth carries on dropping behind this mountain by 75 miles, and then you end up getting to the base of the mountain. Ruhif, the mountain can't be seen if we live on a ball.
Well, essentially, you're looking at all the prominence of that particular mountain. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So I don't know where his argument's coming from, because essentially that is exactly as you would expect to see it on a flat plane. I completely agree. Yeah. It's not even
the other thing the other thing is, when you look at the elevation profile on Google Earth, and it shows it obviously on a flat projection, that the foot of the mountain, the ridge at the foot of the mountain, is exactly the distance that I'd expect this to be. That looks like we're looking at the ridge in front of it. Ruhif just he's like, nah, it's 25 miles away, and I'm like,
it's Ruhif. It's Ruhif. It's a guy that he's written a paper on evolution. Don't forget. So he's an evolutionist. He's already too far down the well.
But Riley, have whoever did this observation, have they presented the location, the observer, in the map and whatever we're looking at across whatever, so we can throw lines ourselves and analyze it ourselves? Did they give coordinates for the observer and all that stuff?
We do know where he was. I'm just going to try and zoom out of Google Earth to get there quick. Oh, this isn't going to work very easy when I'm not in the right way. Reset. Tilt and compass. I don't know if I've still got them saved as bookmarks on here or not. I shall have a look. Oh no, it won't be on here, will it? It's on my other computer. We do know where we do know where they are. It's just I haven't got them saved as pin marks on here. But when you look at the elevation profile in Google Maps, basically the obstruction at the foot of the mountain. This is exactly where you'd expect it to be. It matches it perfectly. But Ruhif's like, no, it's this little ridge that's here, this little bit, that valley that goes down, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, you are off your head. And he's trying to use maths to prove it as well. And I'm like, dude, you can tell by your own discernment that that mountain in the background is obstructed by something that's close to the mountain. It's not obstructed by something that's close to us. And he doesn't understand proximity, but he has to find an angle to argue sphere. And I'm like, that's a good example of somebody that's just, he will argue it no matter what. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm done. Sorry for hijacking.
No worries.
No, that made sense to me.
So, Constance, have you? I know you've been around the flat Earth for quite some time, but have you noticed any new channels that have popped up? Because what I'm finding is that every now and again I get a link sent to me, and it's from a YouTuber that's perhaps only got maybe 200 subscribers, and they're actually doing really, really good work, except nobody ever can find them. And I think that's the algorithm of YouTube. It's what they're doing. It's their way of keeping us separated. But if you've got your ear to the ground, is there anybody that you would recommend for people to go and have a look at their channel?
My recent favorite is the Mud Flood guy, and Creations with a K and a Z at the end.
So do you mean Martin Liedtke?
UAP, Martin Liedtke, amazing.
Yeah.
There are several, but they're not exactly new. They're just, they're presenting a vast amount of information. But new channels, I haven't had the time lately, and I used to have a lot more time to go looking around. So there's definitely a lack of interaction with the new channels, but I'd say it's up to all of us to, if we come across somebody, to just start promoting it. You can either pass it on by email to Mark Sargent, or send it to Patricia Steer, and they'll check it out and they'll have a hangout. And it's that's what they did with gosh, what was her name? Now it's I just drew a blank, but that's what they're there for, is to promote people. And it's not about having a lot of numbers, it's about having good content. I mean, look at Joshua Swift and as Authentic Intent, and look at D Marble, and look at everyone who's contributing and getting their 2 cents in. And the 2 cents are becoming, you know, big money as far as truth is concerned. Pure
You
gold.
guys realize?
Pure gold.
You guys realize that the tag Flat Earth doesn't work anymore as an algorithm search?
It absolutely doesn't. I've been excoriated for even using it.
Yeah, well, what the other effect is that because people now can't find new content from new people, it means that the new people that come into Flat Earth as a result of the likes of activism, when they research Flat Earth, what they're actually getting, instead of getting Flat Earth content and like us talking about stuff like this, what they're actually coming across is trillions of debunk videos from people that claim debunks on stuff that they're not actually debunking. They're just providing an alternative explanation without any evidence whatsoever. And I'm not even talking about the likes of Simon Dan or Conspiracy Cats. I'm talking about just Joe Blogs, the average Joe Blogs that's done a debunk video on whatever topic, like let's just say Nathan Oakley debunked or whatever. If you type in search for the results when you find flat Earth, you're not actually getting flat. You're getting all the ball Earthers debunking you, and it's like, interesting. So what's happening now is we're not actually getting anywhere on YouTube. We're literally going to have to migrate from YouTube because of the way that they're suppressing it. Because you can't research flat Earth on YouTube anymore. It's just not. They're not going to find us.
Right. I play with hashtags, and I started whatever content I was finding that to me was foundational and was, you know, solid, that it was well researched and tested and then well presented. Those I on Twitter, I'd hashtag resources, and I'd put flat Earth, and I'd put some other tags to just reach a broader audience. In case someone thought of this word, this is going to pop up. And I mean, use the system. We can't fight it. We can fight for what's right, but you can also use the system to its best advantage. Figure out what makes it work, as everyone has more than they think we do, and make things happen. You can make one ripple, it will become a tsunami. You could be one snowflake, but together we make an avalanche.
Yeah, you use search tricks. Search
Maybe
for
snowflake is not the best example, but
search for upload date, and not necessarily flatter content. Look for zoom in or landscape, you know, long distance
Yes.
landscapes. Look for sunsets, sunrises, drone footage. Because I found this last week, I was researching a lot about Puerto Rico, is where I'm from, and I was looking for just drone footage and landscape on my hometown, and I found so much beautiful footage of sunsets and in the beach, you know, on the horizons and all that stuff. And I subscribe to some of them, you know, in Puerto Rico, and I, you know, just send comments in Spanish. They say, "Hey, cool," and they got like 2 and 3 subscribers. They just put content for themselves and their family, but some of them are really, really beautiful footage. And yeah, one day when I come across, you know, one really good one, I'm gonna tell them, hey, can I share this video on, you know, forward? Can I mirror it? And if they give me green light, yeah, I'm gonna start mirroring their content in my channel because it's really cool footage, you know, from different parts of the world, not necessarily from your hometown, but just look for cool stuff, you know, sunsets and trees and whatever scramble that you find across, you know, little rocks in the beach. You know, people take really little videos of crabs walking around in the beach, and it's beautiful to look at. You know, it's cool to share this with everybody, and then challenge them like, hey, you got a P900, you know, just try to zoom in the comments, try to go to this location, and I'm gonna start doing that. People got P900s in Puerto Rico, and there's a lot of observations that I would love to do, but I'm not there. I'm gonna tell him, hey, are you close to this area? Try to get to this mountain and zoom into this section or whatever. I'm gonna start doing that, and I think I'm gonna be helping these guys create a lot of content and make them grow. You know, that's what we can do. Just poke them and make them do stuff that they don't know they got the power to do, but we have to motivate them.
I also, through my life, have observed, okay, so we have a garden. We grow a garden better than we can grow a vast field of wheat. We can take care of a garden a whole lot better than something that requires mechanical and engineering instead of just organic contact. Okay, and flat Earth, okay, let's just call it real Earth. Requires grassroots, it requires contact, it requires content, real food, and fake doesn't feed you. And it requires integrity and honesty and humility and everything that's good about humanity, right? If we get too big for our britches, we tend to lose sight of the essence, or let's call it the core of what we're trying to communicate. And because we're all researching so many different things because we're trying to get the bigger picture, you have to come to the point where you say, I don't have the time to know everything, but I can know something about one or two or three or up, you know, to so many things, and get really intense in that knowledge, focused. And then I can share, and the quality of what I'm sharing will replicate through other people sharing and spreading it around. That's, you know, you're putting yourself out there. You're giving of yourself. And if a channel gets huge, they have their own set of problems. But a small channel that has an effect, and that the people that are there are doing their part and spreading the word, replicating faithfully, not twisting anything, not interpreting, but just saying, this is what I got, this is what I see, and this is what I'm handing out. A good thing happens. And the whole thing about YouTube is they focus on the numbers, and they get other people to focus on the numbers. And we might tend to lose sight of the fact that what YouTube is tracking is not what we're doing. That's not what we're there for. So they don't have a tracker for that. They don't have an algorithm for that. All they can measure is activity. And if we're doing activity off of YouTube, the effect is massive, and they can't track it. And they'll just keep in their little pocket of construed reality, alternate reality, thinking we got them squashed. They have no idea what's going on out here in the real world. And I'm telling you, people, the tide is turning. There's so many out there that they just aren't on YouTube. They're out here. And it's amazing. It's mind-boggling. The control only has the power that you give it. And they can't have it all, because we won't give it to them. And we're taking it back. So I hope that encourages you. We're not alone. we're not batting at branches. Mm-hmm. The ones who understand are hacking away at the roots, because that helps the ones who are hacking away at the branches.
Right. Yeah, the greatest enemy on all levels of awakening is the infighting, whether it be on a single layer or within different layers. Yes. One layer may declare another layer their enemy because they refuse to follow their specific narrative. And yeah, that's already going on even.
Oh, that's been going on.
It's all mixing up now. Everybody is starting to get a more personal angle to all of the information and sharing, like, yeah, you know what? Roughly everyone thinks like this, but I kind of have an idea that this might be possible. You're even seeing this in the sub-mainstream media now. It's really exhilarating. It's really like, wow, they're actually showing true individual approaches now as a thing, as an example. And it's a relief. It inspires people. Like you said.
We're growing. And I don't mean just in numbers, but in the quality. And quality is essential. Truth really needs to be the core of it all. And to do things in a loving way, to care and not be dead, zombie,
sheep.
Apathetic and cynical is just, it's negative. Let's throw more positive in there. So with honest and loving intention, I choose, and I am determined to temper my speech, to correct others, yes, but for the right reasons, not for anything, you know, and not because they don't agree with me, but because I actually see something wrong that can be corrected. And some of them will accept it, some won't, but that's on them. If I don't do my job, something goes missing.
We're joined, sorry, go on, Constance.
For what time I do, I keep talking about time like I'm running out of time. I'm not dying. I'm just, I'm looking at when I'm going to be working, and my time, my available time is going to be cut short. But I have great confidence that I'm in a position where I know where to go looking. I know who to go talk to get the essence and the gold. And I don't have to waste time, precious time, on chasing down rumors and giving more credence to ridiculous infighting and backstabbing and destructive behavior, and to just encourage people, look at that good thing, look at that good thing. Not in denial. There are bad things there, but I don't have to give myself to that. I don't have to allow it in my life. I don't have to allow it in my heart. And I can point it out without being a part of it and say, we need to do something about this. And that is honest. It isn't judgmental. It is just truth, love, and life in action. And I can't recommend it highly enough. It frees you up from the angst and from the, I mean, you can get depressed just thinking of all this negative stuff. So I don't recommend that at all.
No, nor me. But we have to talk a little bit of negativity at the moment. We are joined by Flat Earth Data, and have you got any news about what happened from yesterday? Have you had a strike on your channel?
Oh yeah, I got a strike right away. So.
And the trouble is you can't appeal that kind of thing. They'll say that it's your fault for leaving your Hangout link open.
Well, what I did is I reached out to YouTube for a legal response so I can have my lawyer respond to it. And what I said in my email when I reached out was offer me an explanation of how, when I offer a link, somebody can remove me from my own link I provided. So I'm just waiting for an answer, reply back on that. And I'm waiting for what my lawyer says, just what his response towards it, what it is, because at the end of the day, just because I offered a link does mean I'm responsible for my Hangout. But how is it that my link, I can actually be removed from my own Hangout? So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for a proper reply because, I was fairly new at using Hangout. And I was aware of people porn bombing, but I had no idea how they did it. And I had no idea that you could literally be removed from your own Hangout.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened, bro. I was in the Hangout. I mean, I was in the chat and I saw that happen. I was just like, oh my God. And somehow, I don't know, I knew that's what was going to happen. Even though, like, I was kind of like cringing, like, nah, I really hope he doesn't do what I think he might do, but he did it.
Well, it was funny because right up to prior to the moment, you could actually see him kind of scurry into a movement. And and as I watched him scurry, that's when I was removed. And I was like, no, fuck. I actually laughed. I thought it was very funny, to be honest, because I'm, I couldn't really care at the end of the day. It's just YouTube will open another channel and I'll appeal it and I'll wait. I mean, this is a long man's game, this information. It's not, for somebody like P. Fraud, he's a short man's game, and everybody here who's researched flat Earth and has taken the time has either realized it's a long man's game, you can see all the obfuscation, and what I like watching is over a period of time what is revealed. And it's not surprising now. In the beginning, it was kind of surprising. Like, all these people would come forward as being flat earthers and seem genuine and authentic. And then sure enough, it was like 6 months later, you find out they're not authentic. They're not genuine, or even a year later in some cases. But So it's a long position that any genuine truth seeker has taken. It's a long position into suss out the information provided from all these channels. Now, I found really interesting why I joined is this algorithm conversation regarding titling the work and getting the work to be witnessed.
Yeah.
I think the AI is actually going to be even smarter than the algorithm, and it's going to be, like, my research tells me blockchain and algorithm are going to go hand in hand. Once your channel is categorized based on subscriptions, it's not going to be algorithm based. It's actually probably going to be more than just algorithm, like searching out phraseologies and such. It's going to be compounded probably. So it's like, in all honesty, it's like people are going to have to create new channels independent and somehow use the language, like Constance says, is to use the system against itself, which is, a lot of people forget that. I think to some degree we have, you know, an interest to do that, but I think we forget how to do that. And noticing the algorithms is fine, but is there anybody who's tested some of these things that we've talked about? Has anybody actually gone out and, I mean, we know, we hear on the news and whatever that they're changing the algorithms, that they're trying to limit flat earth searches and such, but has anybody documented the change?
Well, I think it's, you know, if you just search flat earth, you know, I mean, the only people talking flat earth are flat earthers. And yet when you search for flat earth, all you're met with is debunk videos rather than the people that are actually creating the content about flat earth. It's completely the wrong way around. It's like, you wouldn't type in Manchester United in the search and then Liverpool pop up. You wouldn't expect that to happen. And it's exactly the same thing. So you can see this censorship happening. And we're also told that if you include flat earth in your tags, you know, you're almost unfindable.
Well, I can search, what I can do in YouTube is when I type in flat earth data, it does come up, and it comes up as the first one. So my channel, when I search in YouTube, comes up. There's nothing before it. Do you guys have issues with that? Like when you go to search for your own channel?
No, I think it takes a while though for it to actually get in the system.
If you type in flat earth and then just nothing else, straight enter. You look at the content that's coming up, right? Look at who it's coming up from. What is their angle on it? And basically, is it pro flat earth by flat earthers, or is it anti flat earth by ball earthers that seem to be what they call debunk is not really debunk. Debunk means disprove, right? It doesn't mean argue and bitch and moan about. It means disprove with some evidence to show that it's wrong. But what you're actually getting is every Tim what's the saying? Tom, Dick, and Harry. You're getting every Tom, Dick, and Harry claiming a debunk video for flat Earth related media stuff, and there's absolutely no evidence in the video whatsoever, other than a disagreement of opinion and a justification based on a logical, reasonable reification fallacy, and that's being claimed as a debunk, but being pushed by YouTube, so that's what you find when you quote research flat Earth. And that's nonsense. It's like I don't know how they managed to do
is
this.
nonsense. It's just like when you search flat Earth debate and Nathan doesn't pop up till I don't even know how far down.
That's
it's
true
like,
too. Yeah,
why is that? His show is literally called Flat Earth Debate, and then the first video doesn't even have that in the title when you pull it up. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You gotta like scroll down, or at least on my phone, I have to scroll all the way down to get to Nathan's first video, and it's not even a Flat Earth Debate video. So it's like they're really messing with that.
Somebody have Ali B blocked apparently because he cannot join or something like that.
Nah,
he'll not join if you know what I mean. He's been avoiding me for
weeks. He doesn't like you. Is that what it is?
Yeah, he thinks that I called him a rapist, and I didn't. Ali, join the panel and let's discuss this. I'd like to know why you think that I called you a rapist and why you've been ignoring me.
Can anybody got him blocked?
As far as I know, he's got me blocked. I never see him commenting in chat.
Okay, yeah, well,
Yeah.
Ali, it works the other way around as well, mate, because if you've got them blocked, then you won't be able to join the panel. It's the same way. But Flat Earth Data, you've done an experiment recently, and I know Anthony would be interested in hearing your conclusions on it, if you could run us through that.
So basically what I decided to do was to take a protractor with me on the aircraft in hopes to measure the degree the airplane was tilted at cruising altitude. And so I did it. I calibrated my device. I recorded it in real time. When the aircraft landed and came to so basically what I did is the pilot announced on the radio, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to proceed our descent, traveling 38,000 feet, 115 miles an hour. I got on my protractor. I calibrated it to the structure of the plane. When he was notifying me this information, and then I recorded it. I recorded it from that point on, which is about 45 minutes, and records the movement. It shows when the plane is tipping its nose up as it's coming in for a landing. Anyway, when it came to a complete stop and everything settled to a zero, everything just settled to a stopping point, the degree of the protractor remained between 3 and 4 degrees. Now, when I approached one of the pilots, I approached 3 pilots that day. The first 2 pilots, I explained the experiment to them, and it's on video. I have it on the channel there. I recorded it all, and I said to them, I explained my experiment. I was like, I'm just trying to measure what degree the plane was flying at in space, in the space that it was, and sure enough, the protractor told me it was between 3 and 4 degrees when I landed. They agreed. They're like, oh yeah, cool, right on. Then I said, the Earth is a physically flat plane, right? And they both agreed. They go, yep. And then we all kind of laughed. I walked away. I was like, thanks, boys. See you later. Then I approached a third pilot. And the third pilot, I explained the experiment as such. And I said to him, you know what? I took a protractor up, and when you guys announced you were at cruising altitude, I calibrated the protractor to the structure of the plane. And sure enough, when I landed and I asked the pilot, I says, what do you think my protractor finished at? And he goes, 4 degrees. I was like, well, it was between 3 and 4. He's like, oh yeah, cool, right on. And I explained to him, I says, I took it initially because I was going to try to measure curvature over 700 miles. Because I have a protractor, it should show a type of degree, over a period of time. It should show some sort of degree of curvature based on the protractor. At least this is my thinking at the time. He's like, yeah, you're right. You should have been able to notice 700 at 700 miles. You should have been noticed some kind of curvature. And I said to him, well, I didn't. I noticed it was completely flat and whatever. He's like, yeah, you can listen to the video yourself. It's there. I recorded it on audio and video. It's there. So that's what I did. And I just wanted to see, for me, it was proof that the airplane's flying in straight lines, because once I calibrated the protractor at the 38,000 feet with its nose tilted up, it was flying in a straight cruising line. And then when it landed on the ground, it substantiated that I calibrated the protractor exactly at that degree at that moment at 38,000 feet. So there you go. And then I just put it all on camera, confronted a couple of pilots about it, and they confirmed the experiment. They agreed that when the plane was down on the ground, it should have been at 3-4%, which the protractor ended up at. So yeah, it was a very fun day.
I got it. Gravity.
Well, that's one of the arguments. One of this before my site got porn bombed. That was one of the arguments, and I basically sussed it out as this. I was like, okay, so you're telling me now this is the hypothetical situation on Earth. If I took the same protractor in a level, and I took the level and I put a roll of nickels, let's say 5 nickels under the level, then put the protractor on the level, and then calibrated the level, and then drove 150 miles, 200 miles, 300 miles, whatever direction, and did the same experiment, would I be able to see the degree at which I measured it at? And of course, one of the globe heads was like, no, it'd be different. It wouldn't be the same. I'm like, are you fucking, like, do you know how the protractor works? The protractor, when you calibrate it, calibrates the 2 plane in a 3D space with its own self. Okay, that's when you move it. That's when it can tell the degrees, because it's calibrated for its own space, its own self. You know what I mean? Doesn't know the height of the ground it's at. Doesn't know where it's at in that space. It only knows itself to be in that space. And so when you tilt it, it measures the tilt. It's very fucking easy to understand. So, that's what it is. It's just this catch-all of gravity. But that's not what I was testing. I was testing the degree of tilt the aircraft was flying at. That's it. And all it did was confirm that it maintained the data and was corroborated by pilots. There you go.
So guys, speaking of hashtags, if you want, think of alternative titles, or what tagging to use. If you're going to be talking about any perspective in the tagline, the compression, the words that we use to describe our world, put them to use. Hashtag.
Global eye.
That too.
I think flat Earth is the moccasin of flat Earth is going to be replaced by global eye.
Yes.
So instead of putting flat Earth in your video titles, put global eye, and then that'll help. That seems to be the next one that we're going to be using.
Get
and then
creative.
when you
be clever,
or whatever.
And whatever happens, guys, laugh your ass off. One thing I learned from Isa and from life: laughter is powerful. And it's a lot better to laugh in the face of anger and evil. It's even better if you can give them a soft answer and turn them away from that and turn to your favor. My 16-year-old daughter shared with me how people have been coming in attack mode, and the person receiving the attack just fends it off with, "Hey, are you all right? I notice,
Exactly.
I care. If you walk like that, you make a change." Arwen,
Yes, I know that from my own personal experiences. Yes,
Yeah.
that exact same thing. They attack you. It's an ego thing, and I can feel their insecurity. So I'm like, dude, can I help you? Like, seriously?
Exactly.
You need somebody? You need a friend?
Yeah. And they do, don't they?
Cool.
They
like
do
that.
need friends.
Yeah.
Real friends.
And they also need just some confirmation, some assurance. Like, their parents don't tell them they think they're cool. Their friends might, for their own reasons. If you just give a genuine compliment that is kind of true, has to be routed in truth, you will touch them, and you can just flip them 180 in the moment.
Yeah. It's building blocks. And just as you would do with a child, instead of giving them false hopes and false basis, false foundations on which to build their life perception and their self-awareness, you want to give them something real that they can work with and that they can grow, and they can it can be revealed to be something priceless, unique, individual, and completely in tune with nature and what's around us. But again, be creative. Come up with words. Sometimes I spend hours just on a word search. I'll put in the request, and what comes back to me, I'm filtering through it, and I'm learning things. And I'm learning to identify what's good and what's not so good. And so I kick out what's not so good, and I distill the truth, and I make it then applicable to my life walk, and I can communicate to someone else more quality. It always comes down to quality. And if the quality is bad, you're going to generate bad replicas. Okay.
Yep.
To use matrix language.
Arwen, have you got Ali B blocked, mate?
No, he's in the panel right now.
He's not on the debate.
I can see him.
He just joined.
Oh, has he? Right. Okay. Sorry.
Hey, Ali.
Before we jump to Ali B and something else, really quick, Constance, how about this for synchronicity? You think, good stuff have been happening these last couple of days. Do you imagine, be sincere, that you were going to be hanging out with us, like in a real, like, internet hangout, and bringing sanity to the conversation and being part of us today? Just bringing togetherness with us. Did you know you were going to join today, or you had an idea that something cool what's going to happen to you today. Yes.
I'll put it this way. I knew that I wanted to. I didn't, and there's nothing against Nathan Oakley. I could have gotten on the panel anytime, but I chose not to. And for the reasons that I explained just a while back about the negative side of it. There, I just didn't want to expose myself at the time.
The rough nature.
The rough nature. I was letting the boys, I was letting the men be men. And, you know, there's a time and a place for everything. Now, today, in a moment, there was a desire, like, yeah, let's do this. Because I haven't jumped on that. I haven't been eager for it. But today was the right day. Today, this was the right time. And it just worked out beautifully. And I am very happy to have been able to observe you guys at work. And whatever comes, come what may, as they say, come what may, I know you guys are gold. I know you guys are legit. I know you're after the truth, and you're not settling for anything less. And that to me means everything. And everyone's growing. We're going to process. I don't expect a seedling to look like a sapling, and I don't expect a sapling to look like the full-grown mature tree. You have to have discernment. So you don't go pulling everything up willy-nilly. You have to feed it. You have to let the sun and the rain and the earth do its job.
I've got a question. Is National Geographic? They talk about they did a so-called 10.6 million flat earther kind of thing. I don't know if you guys recall that recently, but they estimated a percentage of flat earthers, and somebody did the calculations to be about 10.6 million. Now, do you think that's like in total since the dawn of 1940 kind of thing, or anybody living from 1940 then on that still think the Earth is flat, or is this like a new thing within the last 4 years where they've gathered maybe data from the last 4 or 5 years, and that data suggests there's 10.6 million? See, the thing is that numbers compound at a certain point, and that's the tipping point. So you should be able to gauge, if you understand the timeline and maybe the speculative beginning of it, you should be able to mathematically deduce a compound number. Therefore, predicting by a certain time frame, I was wondering if anybody had good enough math to understand that concept and maybe could apply a couple of models to the idea of because it's going to be, what's going to happen is there has to be a populist tipping point. There has to be, just like any kind of religious organization back in the 1800s, they had a group, and as that group grew, they would protest, and they would they would knock on the government's constituency and be like, hey, we need this, you're not providing us this, give us this now, or else we're going to take you to court, or else we're going to do this. You know what I mean? That's usually how things change, just by groups and by numbers. For anybody good with math, I'd love to see a prediction, or not a prediction, but an estimate of when 20 million, because there is a trend, there is an algorithm showing a growth. It's just what's the percentage and the duration.
Yeah, but how do you, and I understand everything you said, but like how accurate do you think the math on that would be? Because I mean, think about how many people don't talk about this.
It's a model. So it's a model. So it's like, if we're going to predict anything like smoking, you're going to look at a demographic of people that are smoking more, and that's going to be a telltale by more cigarette sales. So if you look at flat earth channels, pardon me, is there's going to be a growth in flat earth channels. Like, regardless of the algorithm being in place, there is going to be an undeniable growth in flat earth channels. So as those numbers get increased, the algorithm has to increase. You know what I mean? It's not like, because it's going to be such a variety and such a different, I'm assuming at this point, because this seems to be the pattern of behavior of all things in exponential growth, is that eventually you have to deal with it directly. You can't mask around it. And right now, it's like this mask going around, masking certain positions and points, whoever's in place. you know, or whatever's in place. So you can model these predictions. You can model them. It's just agreeing on what to add for the data to be modeled. And that's it. So I just wanted to know if anybody was good at math or good at modeling. I have concepts like that. I'm okay at math. I'm okay at modeling, but it takes me such a long time to do it. Just wanted to know if anybody understood that and was willing to look into that.
Well, the only reason that I had asked the question was because, see, me, the problem with the numbers is that I feel like this is a thing that's going to, I mean, think about how many people are probably flat earthers and don't even talk about it. You know what I mean? Until this type of thing is absolutely mainstream, there's going to be a whole closet full of people who are not going to talk about this just for fear of looking stupid, you know, or sounding stupid, you know. So that's why for me, I mean, I know that there's flat earthers out there that won't say anything, because for a while I didn't really say anything myself, but, you know, I think that's going to grow, definitely.
I think the biggest growth area is going to be activism generally, you know, like getting on the streets and doing a little bit, because what I noticed when I went on the streets was that it's in contrast to Nathan's show, you've not got the ability to screen share, you've not got the ability to get the document to support your case, you've got to do it on the fly with what you know. And what I realized is there's a lot of people that don't know a lot, and a lot of people didn't actually know about Cavendish. So what I realized is that it's a lot easier to have the face-to-face with them. But what I noticed also is that it's a lot easier to get lost in obfuscation points where you ask them what color is, what day of the week is it, and they should give you back, well, it's Friday. But what they actually do is ask you 6 different questions about your model. One question that you gave them, and obviously if you don't spot, shut up. If you don't spot the obfuscation techniques, then you're going to get caught up in just back and forth that goes nowhere. So it's a case of learning how to speak the street. And Nathan's debate is, although Nathan's given me the ammunition to be able to fire all the bullets that I need to be able to fire, there's definitely a different technique required when you're talking to people on the street, because it's hard to know whether they're a real person. And if they're a real person, they don't obfuscate points and like throw things back at you with the scattergun approach. Or if they're a normal person, just genuinely asking questions. But I just noticed that there was a different approach needed. It's not too different, but you don't have the ability to back yourself up at your fingertips with like stuff that supports your position. You have to think about how you present yourself and how you present your arguments. But I think this next 12 months is going to be the massive growth area. And I think we've all got to do a little bit where we just go out and just talk to people and just say, look, these guys are telling us lies. You need to have a look at it yourself and see what you think. But we're not living on no globe.
Have you seen my video where I interview the 2 pilots and explain my experiment to them? Sorry, the 3 pilots.
Yeah, I did. That was awesome. Watch it. That was awesome. You got it. Was it the guy was flat.
Hang on, just a minute, Ali B. You're not sharing the link, are you?
No. Why?
Well, you've just got a green screen. There's a bar at the top. I just wasn't sure whether or not the link was public with that.
No, I don't think so. Hang on. No, it's not. No.
Right, it's not right.
It's obscured by that window, isn't it? But Ali, if you go into your view menu, you can hide your URL box. You know, file view. In the view menu,
no, but
you can hide
he's not presenting the Hangout screen.
Right. No, I'm not. It's a saved.
Eric was also trying to get a link to come in, and I think Flatner had just asked you for one too.
Right. Okay.
So check your Skype.
Yeah. Let me do this quick shout out to Eric Bosch. He say in the comments chat, Americans and Brits are dumber than dirt. If he didn't have a wrench, I will ban him and ban his ass. Thank you.
You know, the thing is with these troll guys, they actually are, it's really just comical, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, no, I know it's a piss off, but it truly is hilarious. Think about it conceptually, that's what they're doing every day of their life is fighting Santa Claus. Every day that's why I look at it now. It's like this Anthony Robbins tactic, which is like, if you're going to imagine, like P-Fraud, I imagine him as like right now when I think of his name, I think of big goofy clown dude, swelly, that really stinky 8-day hoodie sweater. You know what I mean? But he's like just the sad, goofy dude. And so instead of like looking at him in an aggressive, negative, or like it is negative, I suppose, but it's more like I feel sorry for the guy because you're just like a big clown with a sweaty, it's like a lummox. And it's like, if you ever watched a lummox ride a bike and he's about to fall and he's wiggling his bike and all of a sudden he falls, it's pretty damn hilarious. So it's like, that's how I view P fraud and these trolls.
I have a separate name that I devised for that, and that is a gutter clown.
Yeah.
A clown who lost their job, sacrificed their dignity, and basically end up, in as big a pile of crap as you could get. It's the worst. Nothing is worse than being a gutter clown.
Have you seen the video there, Arwen, I did where I explained my experiment and I recorded it live and I confront 3 pilots about it?
No, sorry. I only recently learned of your channel and then it got porn bombed.
Yeah, it's there anyway. I'll be doing it again on my secondary channel probably later tonight or tomorrow. But it's essentially, I did the experiment and then I confront. It's so brilliant when I confront the other pilot and I say, "Hey man, I did this experiment, blah blah blah," and I said, "Guess what my protractor finished at?" He's like, 4 degrees. It's like brilliant. It's just
cool.
It's pretty fun, man. And I've been a burgeoner air pilot, like wanting to study more and fly more. I was in pilot school and I like flying airplanes, so it was a perfect opportunity to confirm my hypothesis, which was when a plane traverses over Earth at cruising altitude, its nose is up 3-4% or 3-4 degrees, and it flies parallel to Earth, right? That's why it's maintaining that cruising altitude, and it's at that 38,000 feet. And I wanted to see if my device would register that degree in the air when it landed. Well, of course it did, and I have video proof of it, the whole 45 minutes. And then to have the pilots confirm my experiment, and then even 2 of them to admit that Earth is a physically flat plane, and we all giggled about it. It was great. So it's brilliant. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to fly more and interview more pilots. I think I know what my documentary is going to be about. And it's funny because I'm going to add you into it. I hope you're okay with that.
Wait,
and
me?
Yeah, Flat Earth Debate, that channel, the birth of it.
Okay.
It's a pretty good. It's a pretty good opener for any documentary. It's as far as how far everybody's come and where you have to see where the bottleneck is, and you look at all the Globe versus FE debate, and it's just really, really fun. You got to admit, it's been a pretty fun journey.
All right, that's okay. Just don't put any clips of me yelling. Nah, you wouldn't.
No, but it's just, it's funny, this growth between us all and watching it for a lot of people that aren't brave enough to speak up and want to, and a lot of people that have a lot of 1,000 questions. You guys are providing at least that comfort and into the unknown, and in trying to help the unknown be exposed, which, you got to be careful too, because it's like a slow balloon with a leak in it, right? And so you don't know who, if that balloon is legit and who's leaking it out. So you have to, it's really quite interesting on, it's really just cool who's going, like, I think this whole social media with the flat earth thing is the best thing that's ever happened to YouTube. And it's just going to be exponential.
Well, I actually predict that the YouTube platform will be replaced not by rival company, but by Flat Earther. I think Flat Earthers will end up not using YouTube probably at some point in the next 12 months. I think there's other streaming opportunities out there that don't censor stuff the way that YouTube does. And I've got a feeling that we'll all be migrating off YouTube soon because, well, it's just
YouTube
not working.
Do you think it'll be BitChute? Is that what you think it'll be?
I think there's going to be a migration from YouTube to something else. It's just a case of finding which platform does it.
I would like to make a prediction about YouTube and what is going to happen with YouTube, and that is, it's so big, it's so fast, but it's under such heavy scrutiny, and there's like politics is getting involved very seriously, and at one point YouTube risks to be completely and suddenly broken up. And when that happens, the policies are going to go all over the place, And as a response, because one of the biggest platforms in the world is suddenly scattering, there's going to be other people that have been waiting, trying to advertise, like, yeah, please come to our platform, because they know that's a lot of people suddenly have no more platform. So the platforms will be offering themselves to us and everyone else. That's what I predict is going to happen. It might happen in the next year, maybe the year after. I'm not too sure how long it's going to take. But once the YouTube blows up, then there will be other platforms springing up in a hurry, offering themselves.
So you think
it's a huge market.
Do you think it will be? Yeah. Do you think? Well, it already is. That's why there is. In all fairness, man, in the last 4 months, I've seen a crazy. Me myself, when I search, I know the algorithm does bring up the first, usually the debunks first, but if you keep going, in the first page there are, Mark Sargent's clues and stuff like that. So it's like the 8th, 9th search down, but it's definitely suppressed. Now, what you're suggesting is more censorship upon us in the next year. Most channels that have been shut down, like Alex Jones and what other people get booted, right? What other ones can you recall? Eric DeBay. Well, Eric DeBay still has a channel up. It's still there.
There's been vast political censorship, and not just America, international.
Yeah, let me get to my.
I think Eric DeBay's channel's gone again.
My point is,
and not just YouTube, Twitter as well. Many other bigger platforms have all simultaneously, as a conspiracy, done that.
I understand. So the next level of censorship is to actually be profiling now. Profiling would be, you're going to come to my site. I'm going to profile you before. I'm going to, it's in sales when you profile somebody, it's pre-qualifying them. And you're going to pre-qualify me based on a choice, a test now. So what you're saying is that the next evolutionary step into social media is the company who's hosting the social media would now not only not incognito profile you, but now openly profile you. That's basically the next evolutionary step, you're saying, into a censorship.
There's a channel, there's a new broadcasting thing that now it's kind of like YouTube, right? But they actually pay you in Bitcoin. If anybody knows Bitcoin, you get paid for posting videos, live chats, and all that kind of thing. So you're actually earning. I think they've got about 15 million users at the moment. It's just getting bigger. So you can actually earn money at it, that cryptocurrency.
It sounds like 50 million for something like that. That's not real subscribers. Yeah, that's not real subscribers.
It only
you know how easy it is to get fast amounts.
Stop. Look, listen to me, right? Please stop this. There just seems to be. It's like it doesn't. Why all the negative? Just listen and let me finish. Right?
Negative.
It's only been going to about 2 or 3 months, right? And it's going. Shut you. Right.
Sorry.
It's been going for about 2 or 3 months, and you actually get money for posting videos. They actually pay you. But what you have to understand is that if people that like the video, or if you've got friends on there, they actually troll your information. So they take just like what YouTube does, but they actually troll all your friends or your connections or whatever, and they gather that information together. But they're paying you for it. YouTube's taking it anyway, and they're not paying you. They're taking money off you, but you actually get paid to post on this. And it's grown. It's grown very big. And it's only been going a couple of months. So it's up to anybody. Anyway, I wanted to talk.
What's the name of it, Ali?
Oh God, I've got to. I will find it out. I never joined it because of the fact is they actually troll your data, so they'll get all your friends' links. They'll get all your friends' links and stuff like that. So,
Ali, I think that's great. You gotta, if you have my email, flatearthdata@gmail.com. Send me that stuff. But if you guys are interested in, I'm a I've been a trader for close to 10 years now. And if you guys are interested and have money, you should be looking at blockchain technology. There's a couple of companies. There's a company in Canada called Hive. And it's called Hive Blockchain. It's sitting at 27 cents, roughly. It was at $7 last year. So I've been watching it closely. I'm invested into it. And yeah, if you got like $500 or whatever, toss it on and leave it on for a year or two. And you'll have a nice chunk of change.
Well, I'm in a couple of platforms and now and I'm getting 0.6% a day paid out on my investment, which is about 25% a month. Whereas if you had it in the bank, it'd be 0%. You get about $1 for it.
I agree with anybody here taking the time. Go open a direct investing account. Go look at a trading platform, and divide yourself into 70% risk and 30% high risk to medium risk, and get your own platform going and save those bank fees, man.
Download MetaMask.
Oh God! If you're gonna go into the financialism, there are so many options out there. I've been part of a group for a while through my dad, and that's even more sophisticated.
Do you trade, Arwen?
No.
So
I'm not even trading.
I have a robotic plantation on the money market. That's what you could say. It's different from Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm on a platform.
It's not a self-creating currency. It's just a forex market works.
All right. Well, I'm on one now, and it does it automatically. The one I'm on, just put your money in there, and it pays you 6% a day. You can draw every day your profit, or you can reinvest and do it. But it's like
I don't do the robotic. I actually do go. I go out and open my platform. I look at a company. I look at the chart for the day, and then I trade it, or I do a swing, or I'm a long. So
do you do BitMEX? Are you on BitMEX, Flat Earth?
No, I use Questrade. Questrade is a trading platform you can get $1,000 to fund it. I don't know if in UK there's one, but in Canada there's Questrade, and it's a beautiful, easy, simple trading platform to use. You've got all the necessary research tools that you need, but the bottom line is here in Canada, I don't know what the banking system's like where you guys are at. I wanted to have a personal access to all the mutual funds and all the stuff that my banks had. So I opened a direct investing account. And now that I have one, I basically can buy exactly what the bank would have bought with my own money, except for I don't have to pay a 30% commission at the end of the year. So that's what I wanted to do. And anybody can do that simply with their savings, is buy exactly what the bank would buy by having a direct investing account, and not paying you're getting the full meal deal, and you're not paying anybody to piece it out. So
yeah, that's what that blockchain is all about. You've basically taken control of your finances. I mean, as I say, I get 25% a month interest for doing nothing. I've just put my money on the platform and it's gone. And I worked it out in a month with the bank. You get 0.001%. So if you put in $1,000, you get $250 a month. It's simple as that. I try to tell you about that, Ranty. And honestly, I mean, this, I would recommend. I just want to. I don't take any money. I'm willing to help anybody. I don't want paid for it or anything. I just want people, because we're all skint, and this is a way you can actually make money, and it's secure. This platform I'm on at the moment has been going for about a year, and it's paying out. It just pays out all. I'm on a couple of platforms, but there's scams out there. But if anybody wants help setting up a MetaMask, Coinbase, access to it, I'm more than willing to help. And I'm not charging anything. It's just free, just my time. A couple of hours. Takes a couple of hours. It's quite intense. But once you've done it once and a couple of times, you do it yourself. You won't need me. You won't need me. And I don't take a penny.
So Ali, just out of curiosity, I've been doing a lot of, paying attention to you. Is it Ethereum? Ethereum, is that how you say it?
Ethereum,
pardon me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I knew what it was. I knew it sounded like that, but I've been watching it a long time, and anybody who's been into that market, I can tell you that that particular coin-based currency, it doesn't have the rot that Bitcoin has, like the kind of bad taste a lot of investors have. So there's going to be a sort of a similar association with a blockchain and that coin. So
Well, they've got their own blockchain, Flat Earth Data. They're separated from Bitcoin. They've actually got their own blockchain.
Yeah. So what's happening with Hive is that they have their own blockchain, plus they get paid to use their own ledger blockchain, but they also mine mostly that coin.
Oh.
And that's their profit. And they're in Sweden, and they have no debt. They have cash. They have assets. They're a real company.
What's the name of that again? Sorry, what was the name?
Hive.
Hive, right? I'll check that out.
And what happened is that they heavily were on the back of Bitcoin, of course. So when Bitcoin was sitting at beautiful $19,000 a coin, it was sitting at $7 a share. And as Bitcoin dropped, so did Hive. The thing
is it tied to Bitcoin? Yeah.
No. So that's the point. So it's not tied to Bitcoin, but what happened was this turnaround was tied to Bitcoin, is what I'm saying. But because of what happened, they're now focused on their blockchain and their Ethereum. How do you say it?
Ethereum. Yeah. Just remember Ether.
Yeah.
Just remember the Ether. I like it because of that. That's my favorite. That was the coin I got. That was the coin that I got in there, and that was the reason I chose it. But I don't trade in the coins. I bought myself 10 coins there a couple of weeks ago for $80. I just left my money in the account, and if it sits in Ethereum, if the price goes up, the amount of money I've got in my bank, my savings kind of thing, it goes up as well. But it shot up to 150.
Nice.
So I like made $700, but that's just luck. That's just luck. I don't usually buy coins and stuff. I'll put it on an investment platform, you know. And honestly, guys, you put $250 on there and just forget about it, or 250 quid, forget about it, and just leave it, and you'll get your 6% a day.
You gotta burn the money. That's one thing I tell anybody who's investing. Do your due diligence into the company. Look at like, if you don't know anything about it, it is daunting at first, just like what you described. It was setting up platform. Yeah, exactly. It is daunting because it's like anything, man. It's like even understanding the Cavendish experiment when you first come across it, how they equated fucking hanging balls on a torsion thing, and how they can calculate the whole entire weight of Earth. When you're looking at that experiment, you're going, how the fuck is he gonna...
People believe that, though. This is the thing. People actually believe that.
I mean. So when you come across it, you just are like, huh? How did they calculate the entire weight of the Earth with fucking balls in a shed? So it's just like anything. You're gonna come across things, and you're not gonna know them and understand them. But if you're absolutely... This is Ali I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Ali, man. Anytime you can do anybody, you want people to feel empowered, especially the people that think like you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a really good feeling to help people make money, man, because money is definitely a stress and a worry for a majority of people. And it's unfortunate that we're put into an existence on Earth where maybe we didn't want to have those fancy shoes and that fancy car. Maybe we're okay with the Honda Civic and a pair of loafers that you can slip on and slip off. You know, we don't need the constant drive, but it doesn't seem to be a place for that mental state. I mean, there seems to be, obviously, you know, people are doing that, but there doesn't seem to be... The push for materialism, for money and all that is a burden for a lot of people. A lot of people weren't, you know, I didn't come to Earth to make money. I came to Earth to live and have
survive.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, that's what I do. The thing is with this blockchain and all that, the famous saying is when Lambo, you know, when Lamborghini, when Moon and stuff like that. It's just full of greedy people. But personally myself, in about a couple of months, I'll be getting paid out about £1,200 or $1,500 a month. I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm happy with that. I'm not going to be greedy at all, you know, because greedy people are easy to get caught. They're easy to get conned, and I'm not driven by greed. That nice little passive income, and it's so great. You know, it's like knowing that at the end of the week I've got $300. I know I can get back, or at the end of the month I can get $1,200 or $1,300 paid out for no effort. I mean, it's a couple of hours to get everything set up, but once you've got it all set up, it's just plain sailing, guys. You know, and if anybody at all wants any help with it, I'm more than willing to give. I've already got Chris F.E. Jackson in it. He's got loads of his friends. He's got a few of his friends. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. He's got a load of his friends, and they're coining in. You know, they're a wee bit higher up the food chain than I did. You know, I started with $100, and now I've got about 4,000 or something invested, and that was about 7 months ago. So,
okay, well, what else did you come to join and talk about, Ali? Because I know you had a purpose for coming in.
I did indeed. Well, I was on Timmy's channel last night, and we had an array of guests. One of them was Soundly. One of them was Bob the Science Guy. So I got into them about gyroscopes, but I've been waiting for months and months to get a hold of that Soundly. Do you want to share my screen? Right.
Sure. One sec.
I showed this in Flat Earth Debate before a few months ago.
Okay.
Is that it? Is it?
Yep, you're sharing.
Right, you can see that the little photograph up in the top right hand side was off a Soundly's video, right? And if you look at it, we all know pylons don't go straight down at the bottom, so we can near enough say that that's the reflection. That's where the pylon stops, right? And if you look in the one on the left, that's the actual pylon that we're looking on at the right, but it's from right next to it. Now, if you count up the stanchions, if you look at it, it's the same pylon. So on the top right-hand corner, you're seeing the whole pylon from, I think it was 17 miles, 18 miles away. Now, I put that up with to Soundly. He's, it's nothing. But Timmy, fair play to him, he got it and he actually put it in, and he put it alongside the one on the left-hand side. And he burst out laughing, and he actually admitted that you could see this whole pylon here. But Soundly totally denied it and then he just said, but we've got other observations as well. Totally, yeah. But see that there? I mean, I was to go in a debate with Fight the Fat Girth on the non sequitur on the 12th.
Did you say Fight the Fat Girth?
Yeah.
The what?
Fight the Fat Girth.
Right. So. Right. So what? So I've got a debate with him on the 12th on the non sequitur show, and do you know what? After what Soundly done last night, he's just a lying piece of shit, man. Even Timmy, everybody could see what I had there, right? And he just totally thinking it. So I'm kind of in the frame of mind. Fuck these people. They're never going to, no matter what you're going to bring to these people, they're just going to argue with you constantly. I'm only going on. Sorry, go on.
Did you see
stop presenting now? Stop presenting me now if you want. Sorry, it's all good.
Yeah, one sec.
Did you see the closing statements by Soundly at the end of Zinder's interview? I went to watch it because Zinder had literally, it was literally when he was literally backsliding back towards the ball. Because I personally think Zinder's realised it's not a sphere, but he's had a little bit of backlash from the ballers. So rather than say...
He's taking the piss. I see him in conversations all the time, by the way. That time that he came on about the concave earth, I pulled him up last night about it. I was calling him all sorts of names.
Yeah, I get he's taking the piss, but I also think what he's doing is, I think he's actually, part of it's taking the piss, but I also think that part of it is genuinely asking questions, because sometimes he does come across as sincere when he's asking questions.
It's fake. It's fake, Anthony. It's all fake.
I'm not so sure. I think he's basically
listen, I've talked to the guy.
But he is interested.
No, he's not interested at all.
In any event, my point was Soundly's closing lines when he was closing down the Zinder hangout was that he just hoped. I'd have to get it back, but basically what I'll do is give me 3 minutes, so I don't want to hash up his words. I want to quote him verbatim. So give me a minute, I'll find it and come back.
But that Zinder guy, he's just trolling. He's over on that P Mars channel all the time. They're all planning to come in and take the piss and laugh. And that Zinder is just pure trolling. I mean, pure trolling. He's not thinking. He doesn't care about it at all. He's just trolling. That's all.
Isn't that the same as all of them, though?
Well, some of them I actually believe. Like that, there they go, that, what do you call it? Flat Earth Data, that's right. Remember we were in with Conspiracy Twats and Fight the Flat Girth. And we had a chat, and Fight the Flat, it was so funny, Fight the Flat Girth, he got porn bombed. He actually got porn bombed, and he porn bombed himself. I've got to ask you a question, Flat Earth. What's your name? Can I call you a name instead of saying Flat Earth Data? John or something?
Flat Earth Data fine for now, man. Just call me Fed.
Right, I'll call you Fed. Right, okay, I'll call you Fed. And they got right. You didn't give out the link, did you, Fed?
What do you mean, give out the link?
Well, to remember when we were on that Fight the Fat Girth thing with that conspiracy cats, yeah. You didn't hand out that link.
I'm new to the whole Hangout thing. I don't even know.
Yeah, I know. I knew that. I kind of knew that was you. So therefore, the fact and that pipe, the three of them were on there, and it was so funny because we were kicking their ass. I brought up the subject gyroscopes, and you just finished off. I was a bit unsure about the pendulous veins, and you just done that. I was like, right, education's complete. I've got my whole argument tied down. But after we were killing them, we killed them, and then all of a sudden they get porn bombed. They done it themselves.
Right at that moment, what I said to them, you're destroyed on public forum.
Yeah.
Of everybody, we just destroyed you. And right after I said that, a fucking little.
Oh, it was brilliant, mate. I'm telling you.
A little
it was brilliant.
window popped up, and it was porn. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here, right? But it was like literally right after I said that.
And it wasn't a public link either.
Yeah, so they did that to themselves, so they couldn't post the video because it would be. It was an embarrassing moment. You remember his face?
Oh my God, he never had a clue. He never had a clue about. I was talking before you came in. I was talking about gyros, and then he started going. Oh, he was mentioning something. I said, well, no, because they fire it up, they calibrate it when they take off. At take off, they fire up the gyroscope. That's when you go to taxi to the runway. When they stop, well, they stop two places. They go into this rose and they find out they set their compass off this rose. There's like a navigator. It's a rose. It's like a compass thing, and they set it up with that, and then they go off and when they stop just before they go on, they fire up that gyro, and that gyro gets calibrated to that position perpendicular to the earth. It takes off, and you know the rest of the story because you took the protractor. That was fucking awesome, man, because you couldn't say it was gravity. They do that with the thing, but that protractor thing, mate, honestly, I was pissing myself laughing.
Well, think about it, right? The device itself, you can take anywhere in the room, and as long as you calibrate it, it will be calibrated to whatever you're putting that item to, right? And so if I'm on an aircraft that's tilted in the air at 3-4 degrees, and I put my protractor to the plane, right? To the bottom of the plane, the floor of the plane, right? And calibrate it, I'm going to be now calibrated to that structure in the space so that when I do come to a level plane surface, it will show me the degree I was at when I calibrated. So I videotaped the whole thing. So
that was awesome because that guy, the way that you approached that, actually, I was well impressed with the way that you approached the pilots. He said, oh, hey guys, how you doing? I'm a bit of a flyer, and I done a little experiment on the plane. Just the way you approached it, it wasn't like that was quite well done actually. And they laughed. Two of them laughed when you said, "Oh, well, that makes it flat then, doesn't it?" Yeah, no, you said, "You know, we're on a flat Earth then." And the two of them goes, "Yeah." Well, one of them said, I could hear one of them goes, "Yeah," and they kind of laughed. And that's when you walked away. I thought, fucking nice. People should go and watch that video.
It was just as simple as measuring and recording the data of the plane in one position and measuring and recording the data in another position. And anybody can use a protractor to do this. You could take a measurement here and walk over there and say, oh no, that device over here is a little off. You know what I mean? If you're calibrating the device within itself, it's going to have its relative pitch within its space. So you know what I mean? It's pretty easy device to use. It's very easy to understand. It doesn't measure the distance. It doesn't measure the height. It will, like if I took the protractor and I shaked it, it would measure the needle will go back and forth due to the pitch, but also some type of acceleration. Because the needle, when we landed and when we braked, the protractor needle tilted back. In other words, when I felt the force in my chest of the braking of the aircraft, so did my protractor. So it was really quite interesting to witness that accelerometer respond to the inertia force of braking. So
well,
it's really,
You know,
Bob the
I got
sorry,
a funny
that Bob
question
the
about
science guy.
that.
One second. That Bob the science guy, by the way, or that Bob the science guy, he's a pilot as well, by the way. Did you know that?
Bob.
He said he's
guy?
a fully. Yeah, Bob the science guy. He said that he was a qualified pilot last night on Timmy's. He was talking about it and he was going on about gyros, and I took him through it as well. And I told him he started going on about precession, and I explained he was going on about, you know, he actually brought up the stunt aeroplanes where it does actually, where they do roll over. You know,
Well,
when they do.
you know about this precession thing. So I also asked one of the pilots in the video, you can go watch it. I said, by the way, there's no instrument on an aircraft that records precession, Coriolis, or curvature. And in fact, when I fly, I don't think of any of those things. And do you know what his response was?
No.
Yeah, you're right. You don't think of those things. Anyway, have a good day. Good night. Thank you. And that's how I ended the conversation with the one of them. And I said, well, that
was brilliant.
I said to him, I said, look, that's what I'm going through right now. Because when I fly, I don't have to think of gravity. I don't have to think of precession. I don't have to think of Coriolis. I don't have to think about Coriolis, precession, and curvature. I don't have to think of any of that when I fly. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You don't.
Well, that Bob the science guy brought up that ring laser. See that experiment with the ring laser that Bob Nadell done, right? What you've got to understand, guys, is, right, that ring laser is not, I made this point, they mentioned that ring laser, and I made the point, I says, but the mechanical gyroscope, I says, why would you use something that's not as accurate as a mechanical gyroscope to measure that? If it doesn't show up on the mechanical gyroscope, which is more accurate, right? The only reason that they put them in the commercial airplanes now is because it's cheaper. Military planes still use the normal gyroscope. They won't change over to laser because they have to. They do that low-level flying and stuff like that, yeah? So he brought up that, right?
Let me just bring this to everyone's attention, right? First off, it wasn't the ring laser gyro. It was the fiber optic gyro that was used.
That same thing.
And it's the biggest misrepresentation in Flat Earth, because what Bob's quoted as saying is only half of a sentence. The other half of the sentence, he did say that they do detect the 15 degrees of motion. However, the second part that nobody ever cites, because it always gets clipped out, is that if it was the movement of the Earth, the mechanical gyros would show it too. That's the bit that's missing. So let's get it clear.
Right. Okay, I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's true. They're more accurate.
Everybody
the reason they're putting into commercial, the reason they're putting into commercial airplanes is because it's cheaper. But they still keep it in they still keep the mechanical one. And that guy,
they don't need.
Go on.
I had a conversation.
They don't need calibrating either. Once you program them once, it's done them forever.
But they get taken out. They ring lasers. They get actually taken out the thing. Do they not? They get taken out the airplane and then they get reset. No, I thought they get taken out. Chris F.E. Jackson knows about that, but he reckons they get taken out and they calibrate it. When the plane lands, they take it out and they calibrate it. They take it away and they calibrate it. Then they put it back into the plane again. The airplane.
They didn't do that once, right at the very beginning. But my point is that Bob gets misquoted on that all the time. And just listen for how often people quote him on the Ball Earth side. They say that he says, yes, they do acknowledge the 15 degrees an hour rotation, but it always gets cut because the next line he says is, but the mechanical gyros don't do it. So it's like, well, if one gyroscope's measuring the movement of the Earth, the other one should do it too. And obviously we know that John Savage put them on a 15 degree an hour clock mechanism, and it showed the 15 degrees an hour. But if the Earth was spinning and he had the clock mechanism spinning too, it should actually show 30 degrees an hour, because the Earth should be spinning with the clock mechanism. And obviously it didn't do it. It just showed the 15 degrees, and there was no other movement on the gyro at all. So basically, that, I mean, most people just ignore it or don't even know about it. But
I'll
just be
remember
aware
that. I didn't know. I'll say that next time they use that as an argument. But I just say it's not accurate anyway, because why would you use a substandard instrument to measure something that there's already a perfectly precise instrument that does it? But I didn't know that about Bob said that.
Well, I think you'll find that they're extremely accurate. I don't think it's accurate to say that they're not accurate. I think the bigger argument is that they don't topple with high-speed movements. They only need calibrating periodically, and basically it's because there's no moving parts, they don't wear down. So they are more accurate in some respects. And if they were the rotation of the Earth, it would show it on a mechanical gyro, because we know that they do it, but they don't do it.
I actually found the compasses inside the airplane a lot more interesting. You should go and read up about it. I brought that up with with that Bob, the science guy, he says he's a pilot. I brought it up about compasses. I actually bought it, but I told him the book. He says, can you give me a quote? I says, yeah. I said, it's called the Pilot's Handbook. And it's like, basically, it's a must-have a pilot. And it tells you everything about it, how to fly it, what degrees you have nose up when you're flying and stuff like that. And they mentioned the compass. Very interesting how they find themselves away about the place.
Well, the other thing to be aware of is you mentioned that Bill, the physics guy, I think his name is that right?
No, Bob the science guy.
Bob the science guy. So that guy is one of the guys that denies that the independent variable in a scientific experiment must be manipulated. He told me that
he was full of shit. If you know what you're talking about, he's full of shit. I creamed him last night with the attitude indicator. I totally creamed him. They can't win with that. Yeah, honestly, guys, that's all you need to learn. And just when they bring up pendulous veins, Flyer Data will tell you about it. There's two ways about it, and they pendulous veins actually prove, because the minute it starts processing, it actually corrects for it, because these little veins cover up the holes. There's holes, especially in the vacuum. It's a vacuum gyroscope they use. And the little pendulous veins, they hang down the way, right? And if the gyroscope starts processing anything at all, it actually, these two pendulous veins actually hang down at an angle off the side. There's two of them. And when it processes, they close off the holes a little bit, the air in it, and it corrects the gyro back up to exactly where you set it from. They don't know shit, and that's my proof that there. And I got to soundly as well about theodolites now, guys. Right, theodolites are only rated to 100 meters, and I pulled that soundly guy up about it as well, and he kind of waffled. He kind of pulled up that they're only rated to 100 meters, and then well that's it basically. Otherwise, they're no good. No proper surveyor would have it. That Jesse Kowalski, he was wanting to debate me on Tim's. I was like, no. I says, go on the non sequitur. I says, I'll come on.
Why would you go to non sequitur rather than Nathan's show? You just go.
Ali. No, like Nathan's shows. There's like about 5. I prefer the non-sec, because I enjoy myself over there. I just go in there and have a laugh. Yeah, I enjoy myself over there. They can't rattle me. They will kick me before I rage quit, kind of thing. They can't trigger me. And now, as I say, that's where I want to do it right, and I want to do it in their own home ground. I don't want any home advantage. I like to go into there I like to go into their room and make them feel uncomfortable. I feel comfortable in their rooms, and that's the secret.
What they then do is the thing that they accuse Nathan of doing, and basically what we found is we didn't even get to present our evidence, and somehow Rumpus had managed to win the point. And we were like, we haven't even presented the evidence. What are you talking about? And he said, well, Rumpus has explained it away. And we're like, but we haven't presented it yet. What are you talking about? And somehow Rumpus seemed to win an argument without us ever presenting the evidence to be able to win the argument. You know, I don't mean our counter evidence. I mean the original evidence to make the point on. We didn't even get to that, and somehow Rumpus had managed to win.
Yeah, but that was down to your bad debating then, Anthony. I always get my point across. I just let them waffle on. The best thing to do is just let them waffle on and waffle on and waffle on, and get on to another subject. And after they've done that, I just go, all right, very nice. Right, now we'll go back here and just totally disregard what I don't even comment on the shite they've talked about or the argument. All they're trying to do is bait you into an argument and take you away from the relevant points. It's dead easy tactics.
We never got to the relevant point. That was my point. We never got there. Rumpus managed to control the hangout to such the extent that we weren't even able to get to present the point we were trying to make. And we had to leave because it was declared invalid and we hadn't even presented it. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
If you want to turn off your camera, Constance, you can do it. I mean, it's up to you. It doesn't slow things down. It's on your end. You want to? Sorry to interrupt, guys.
No worries. As I say, I just like going on. They're easy meat, the same as that Earth discussions years ago. I went in there and just think now. I knew a lot less than what I knew now, and I fired in there, and I caused mayhem. I had them all arguing with each other. Then they kicked me off, and they were arguing with each other for about half an hour afterwards because I made a point, and someone was disingenuous with the answer. And one of the guys goes, oh, that's not right, actually, because of this and that. And they started going on. I just sat back and just listened to it. It was pure brilliant. Pure brilliant. They do it in themselves. See, the thing, why I always beat these people, right, is the thing is because what they do is they look down on us. And we all know in fighting, one of the rules of war or whatever is never underestimate your opponent. The minute they start doing that, you've won. The minute they start thinking that you're a thick, flatty or whatever, you've won. Just don't get baited into fake moon landing. Satellites don't exist. ISS is fake because that's your argument over. You'll get ridiculed the fuck out of. That's why they can't touch me, because I say I believe in the moon landings, the ISS and satellites. So that has taken all these subjects, all that ridicule off the way, and so all we can really talk about is Theodolites, Curvature, photography and all that. They can't get me on anything else. So it's quite good being in my position, actually. And they do that. I've watched them do it with you, Anthony. I've watched them do it with every debate. I can even tell when they're about to mention, because when they're losing, right, the automatics, like default, they go, oh, I bet you don't believe in the moon landings, and then off you go, you fall into that. No, they're fake, and have you seen this? A funny thing happened on the way to the moon, and you lose every time when you go there. You've just got to keep away from these subjects. They're the subjects not to be talked about. You just talk about vacuums.
Shout out to Poopy Pants.
Vacuums.
Protracted.
Theodolites, curvature and all that. Just stick with that. Don't go up into space, because the minute you go up into space, you guys get creamed and then nobody takes you serious. Every fucking time it happens. I'm just saying, avoid that.
Never had a space argument with any of them. It's never ever come up.
But you just keep mentioning fake. Yes, you do. You talk about that.
Have you guys seen?
You have talked about that, Anthony. And this is a problem with all the you talk about it all the time.
So then, Ali, what do you do? What do you do then when they bring up, oh, we have pictures of this, or we have pictures from ISS, or like, so how do you handle it then if you don't bring that up? You know what I'm saying?
I'd say, well, pictures are not really proof of anything. Let's stick to what we can actually do. What we can do. Let's not rely on anybody up there. Let's rely on what we're doing down here. and stuff like that. So I just, you know, or I say, well, or I say, well, I don't know. I says that's. I mean, you're proving something out there, but when we come back down to earth, there's no evidence for curvature.
Sorry to interrupt, but I gotta say I will try not to interrupt anymore. Thank you.
Jose, you're so
So,
you're a silly.
so when they bring up photographs, for example, they try to bring that the photograph of the you know the moon. They asked me about the moon. I said, "Oh, what about the moonrise?" I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Oh well." I said, "That just I said that it looks strange to me." But what I done was then I said it's like, well, if you go to that one where the one where there was a satellite 1 million miles away, and that one where the moon goes in front of the Earth.
The epic,
Have you
right?
seen that?
I think that's what it was called.
The cookie moon.
Epic.
That's exactly a big small, right? So I says to him, I said, right, guys, we're going to do a thought experiment, because I know you like to do thought experiments, because that's what all your senses. I says, what we'll do is, it said, I'm 1 million miles away. Now we all know that we're closer to an object, it's bigger. I'm right, yes. I said, fine. I said, right now, I says, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you're just traveling off to the moon. You're going to stand on the moon, and you can see the size of the moon and the huge Earth behind it.
You're roboting.
Compare that to the photograph. Compare that to the photograph.
Yo, Ali, your mic, your internet is totally jumbled for the last minute. So try again. No.
All I heard was derp, derp, derp.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm just wondering when
You're
the
out
last
of
time
range.
I'm just wondering when the last time we had a conversation anything to do with space on debates. I don't actually remember one. Other than the gas pressure existing next to a vacuum, but that doesn't quite get us into space.
But you've talked about
they can't really get past that point.
But I bring up space stuff.
But you've talked about the IS and all that. But I'm just saying, in future, this is what they
still robot in there.
Ali, we can't make out a single word you're saying. You might want to try rebooting or something, because it's just terrible.
Hey, did you guys hear what I was talking about? Avengers and Gods of Egypt? Did you guys hear that? Because it seems like I got cut off. Anyway, I don't know if you've noticed, but in Gods of Egypt, Osiris has taken his son up to meet his father, the creator, and there's a picture of, there's a representation of the sun and moon above a flat plain, and then in Avengers, they're traveling through water in space.
Where?
If you watch the movie in Avengers, they're in the spacecraft, and I did a video on YouTube a little while back about it, and thought it was comical, but I might have taken it down since then. You can just go look at the movie Avenger, and it's there. The actual, it's so amazing too, because when I first discovered flat Earth, I bought a telescope, and I really fell in love with looking at the stars when I first
It's like 3 Avengers.
The latest one, the last Avengers.
Aye.
It's the Infinity War. I mean,
yeah, it's Infinity War. Check it out; it's there. And anyway, I got a telescope, and no word of a lie, man. I located a star, and it looked like it had a red tip on it with an orange back end, and it was moving like one of those water. It was like a little miniature torpedo. That's what it looked like, and it was moving like it was swimming through water. And no word of a lie, man. I might have been, I don't know. I had goosebumps. That totally riveted me what I saw, because I'd never thought that, I would see what I saw, which was basically when an object moves through water, it leaves sort of like a swirl behind it. You know what I mean? Sort of like a type of pattern for like being pushed or being you're pushing through something, right? So you're going to
ripple. Well, you're pressuring the water behind you,
exactly.
and that causes a ripple locally in all directions.
Yeah, thank you for simplifying that. Appreciate that. In the Avengers, the point is, in Avengers, you will see these little. Now they're exaggerated to what I saw, overly exaggerated. But what I saw was very similar to that little thing moving in the water. Now they show it in Avengers, but it's really, really exaggerated. You'd have to like slow it extremely down, like really slow to see what I saw, obviously. But anyway, I just thought it was quite interesting how when I bought this telescope and I calibrated it and I started looking at stars, I just never saw the things that I, once I started researching science and the Big Bang itself even talks about the explosion happening in water. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just
What?
Yeah, the Big Bang, the George Lemaitre, the Big Bang cosmology. Actually, there's water in it in the explanation of the Big Bang. So
which one?
The George Lemaitre, the priest, the Roman Catholic.
The original conceptualization, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So because you have to realize there's a book you guys got to check out. It's in the early 1800s. Everything comes from the 1800s, man. Like 1601 was the birth of it, I think. And then up until like the 1800s is when they sort of took control of these things, these break-offs that happened at the 1600s, this fuel of science and religion and, anyway, in the 1800s, there was basically these scientists that were still trying to discover the flood or research the flood, research the canopy of the waters falling. But they had a globe perspective. They really believed in the Big Bang from the Kabbalah, right? The book of Zohar. That's the far as back as it goes. The same singular explosion into a fiery ball that produced all these spherical planets, like the same. Because it's not new, George. It's not new to the Roman Catholic Church. This singular explosion into everything, right? This comes from the Kabbalah. So,
the Roman gods.
Yeah, but it's Jewish.
It's an ancient crafted in concept.
It's Jewish mysticism where it all comes from, right? It all comes from the origin of the cradle of Earth, right? So, all
their fairy tale, their ancient fairy tale.
Well, they believe that their god is called Insof, right? Insof is a sphere god, which is Earth. So they believe that their god is a sphere. That's why the Earth.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, check it out. Insof is the god, and it's a sphere god, and it's Jewish Kabbalism, Kabbalah. It's everything to do with. It's, in my interpretation, it's why we see all the movies with Universal and whatever, and they're all big spheres. It's because Insof is their god.
Okay, so Insof is basically what has become modernized Gaia.
Yeah, maybe
that kind of approach.
Maybe I don't know anything about Gaia.
Oh, that's the modern. That should then be the modern transformation, obviously.
I don't know anything about
through the occult roots opening up.
Maybe that's how they introduce it into popularity and introduce. I don't know much about the Gaia thing or whatever. I'm just.
Gaia theory is that humans are parasites on the giant organism of nature, and that, it's very anti-human, basically.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it's only one approach. I personally find it very annoying because I am very nature-oriented. I am very pro-nature, very pro-recycling, all that. Environmental conservatism. But I don't think that all humans should die, because I think if that happens, then everything else will die as well. Not necessarily because of us, but humans underestimate how many humans maintain nature and keep it in balance. We assume that nature finds its own balance, but we really don't have any proof of that. We only have proof of the contrary.
No, we do have proof that it self-regulates. We can see
regulates.
Self-regulates for sure. We can see patterns of behavior that the climate does change, the environment has changed. There's actual physical, geological evidence that you can go and look at that the Earth does change, and it's not necessarily man's responsible for it. Is my point.
But I'm talking about life, talking about the life that is around, and comparing that life being around wildly with humans. And humans do destroy some wildlife, and I hate that. But we also maintain older life forms in our environments. And that finds its own balance. It is a domesticated form of nature, basically. But yeah, we maintain that. And there's a lot of old stuff. And if we'd all be gone, then that would grow out of control and also be destroyed. Think of all the cats and dogs, for example. And just city birds, all that. I don't know.
It's like they changed.
What?
It's like how they changed. It's like how they changed the meaning of Baphomet. Baphomet is not the. It's not representative of the devil. It's representative of the two natures of the two aspects of nature, the male and the female. That's why
knowledge. It's about the dark and the good side of knowledge.
Let me listen. No, it's not.
Gnosis.
It's not. And
yes.
No, it was a representation of the duality of nature, and it had the goat's horn, which represents fertility, and that's all it is. And they changed it. See how it's like they've changed everything into the opposite, and that's going back the ancient. That Baphomet was ancient character. It's got nothing to do with the devil. It was to do with the duality of nature.
Comes from the Templars, okay?
No, it doesn't. It was way.
No, but that's where we are getting that specific type of iconography from, and how they used it was as a symbol of knowledge, Sophia.
And they changed it, but it was.
Yeah, it had been changed afterwards.
Calm down, dude. And listen, I know that I was just going to say that's what they do. The things they always they put it the opposite. They put it to the opposite from what it was.
Yes.
Everything's changed. They're doing a mirror image of everything. People in power.
Yeah, and it's still happening.
I like this. The robot versus the wizard. It's the nature
of devil persecution. It's the dark side of. It's the dark side of humanity, of being righteous. It's zealously righteous, and you start to see the devil in everything. And that is a human function. It is within everyone to be able to do that, to get into that mindset. And unfortunately, it happens throughout history. And one group may use certain symbols in a holy way, in the name of God, in the name of the real God, in the path even. And then later, yeah, they might get involved in politics, get destroyed by the Pope, exactly as happened. And then their relics, their personal relics that they use for their things, for their rituals, which may not have been evil at all, will then be translated by the church as blasphemy and devil worship. Oh, look, they were secret devil worshippers. Oh, look, look at the horns. It's all like nature and blah, blah, blah. And well, that's what we're now left with. And it's being reintroduced, these symbols, and this being reinterpreted like this, exactly like that. So it's repeating of history in the public consciousness through media. It's the same process.
Yeah, I think they just use these symbols, you know, like all the companies, the symbols for all the companies. I think they just use it as a shout out to their friends, just to say, hey, by the way, we're in. I think they just take the piss.
I'm just saying, many symbols, ancient symbols, are not what we are told they are. And not in, oh my God, there's this super secret power in there that we're not being told. But no, they are being misrepresented. They're given a color of that will force you into a certain approach mentally because you're cautious or something. And that will blind you from what it really is. And the original meaning of it. How it was actually used. And there's now all these stories to replace that, all these mythologies being created by everyone.
Do you think we are inherently violent, guys? Do you think we're actually we are actually are violent in all these wars like human or do you think that
breaking up terribly? But yes. You're breaking up terribly again, but yes, humans have violence as a part of their system. And if the right conditions arrive, then that violence will manifest.
You take away their food, their water, you watch it rise. That's right.
Exactly.
and you get to a point where justice doesn't become a true factor anymore, you'll see a rise in vigilante.
Exactly. It's nature. It's part of our instincts.
And it's survival, and it's protecting your clan. So when your clan is endangered, you will protect it at all costs.
It's rooted in social instincts.
Well, it's your family, essentially your community that you go into high alert for. But not only that, we're also our body itself doesn't want to die, right? Our brain doesn't want to die. So we actually do sometimes end up blocking things out. I believe you guys might be familiar with Canada's faint hope clause. Mm-hmm. What that is that men who are in relationships and marriages and they find out after 40 years their wives have been cheating on them, they go and kill them. And when they do it, they don't remember they do. They actually blank out from the rage, supposedly. Yeah, so I don't know if that's legit or not. I can't honestly say because I have never been in that position. But the case is that we have, as men, we have, I think they did some studies. I can't remember the names of them, the name of the study right now. This is years ago. I'm trying to recall it. But they did, us men have a hormonal reaction just like women do, and it's different. When men get to a point of fight or flight, especially in fight mode, there is a part of the brain that just goes back to the primitive self, essentially, and all other functions shut down. And they've studied that. They've done studies in monkeys and all that stuff, and correlate the same sort of brain pattern behavior in men. Yeah, in these situations. And it's quite interesting to know. It's sort of like sleep in a sense, that when you sleep, where does your brain go? It's really, really just on the brink of death. Essentially, you just all of a sudden
No, your spirit's displaced. That's all.
Well, I don't know anything like that. I'm just saying that it's very similar to the concept of disappearing and not knowing where things go. In other words, when you do reach that state of anger to the point where your brain is gone back into primitive mode, supposedly, this is what we're told. I mean, I haven't done the test myself. I don't, I've limited research on the material, but from what I understood from the research that I've read, that the brain does function in a way where it will compartmentalize itself to protect itself.
Exactly. And that's what happens. So these rush of hormones, they will turn off certain parts of your consciousness, of your senses, forcing your conscious basically to recrystallize itself with its new faculties, and you will be being thrown back psychologically onto another more primitive program that's always a part of you, but it's not common.
And so it's very similar to the idea of being brain.
Well, parts of your brain are turned off hormonally when it happens. So you're literally another character, conscious-wise. It's very strange. And that also can explain why some people just don't remember it at all, because it's not even registered in the normal way, because the brain is just, how the brain functions suddenly becomes completely different. So memory may not even be stored at all during such periods.
Can I just cut in here for just a second? I'm just going to let you guys know I've got about 45 minutes left on this stream. I'm just going to introduce all the people that are on the panel. We have Ali B, we have Arwin, Chocolate Asian, Constance Bruns, Flat Earth Data, Jose Jean... Jose, you say it. I can't say your name. Sleeping Warrior, and myself.
Jose G. Gonzalez.
That's it. So that's who's on the panel. 45 more minutes left.
Randy, did you call me Chocolate Asian?
Yeah, you did.
Awesome, Randy. Awesome. That's cool.
I've been dying to say that for ages.
maybe you should just stick to Chalky. That's cool. That'll work.
Right, carry on.
You know how we were talking about the brain compartmentalizing stresses or disorders, or, do you think, I look at myself and I go, well, how do I see things the way I see them? How did I come to be to see that water doesn't curve? Or How did I see, that airplanes fly level over a level surface, and that there's no way in hell gravity could be responsible for anything called curvature? What is that? What was that compartment? How did your brain become? Because you have to break down the walls and disbelieve science, right? I mean, that's what they tell you. You're disbelieving science, son.
Well, what it requires foundationally is a more flexible visual imagination center, because it requires a lot of details to get the globe model right. And for some people, that it just takes up all of their control to get the picture clear. Not everyone has a huge visual library in their head, and they can just build whatever on the scratch, like I've been training myself to do. Yeah. So some people just, as soon as you say, no, it's not right, then they feel literally their entire imagination world falling apart, and they lose all control because they just can't imagine anything else. And big valley of despair to go through for these people.
So you're saying it has part to do with flexibility, being able to look at something objectively and understanding the argument, essentially, and the brains aren't capable of doing
concentration.
that?
You have to imagine everything that is discussed, and if you don't have the focus for this, if you can't concentrate on something that deviates from the standard blueprint that you've learned all your life, some people just can't focus. They just can't see what you're saying. It's jibber-jabber to them. Literally, they say it, and we think that they're trolling us, but to some people, that's literally what they see. They just can't focus.
Shout out to GB Jedi in chat.
A lot of these ballers have telescopes and all that, and I'm just wondering if it's if they're that invested in science that much that they find it hard to comprehend. Because I was okay with science, but I was never really a buff or anything like that, I find it quite easy.
Well, it's just having the I don't know. I don't understand why is it a group of people that see it a certain way. I mean, obviously politically it's the same thing, right? We politically have the differences. We eat different food. We have different women. We have different books we like to read. Is this just another way of the controllers putting in something else on the plate for people that are looking for more? Do you know what I mean? Like how many economies can you fake? How many economies can you, maybe it is true, but it sounds like to me people are going to make a lot of money from this movement eventually.
Well, there's a load of ballers making loads of money off it
already, right? So there you go. So it's I think the sweetest thing ever would be a group of dudes that would take whatever.
Oh, you broke off there.
Truth being used for profit, but at the same time, because what happens is it's being lost in translation a little bit as far as what's real, what's not real, who's the guy you trust, what channel do you watch, what flat earther believes what, is he a literalist flat earther, is he a pagan flat earther? Do you know what I mean? Like it's this really interesting economy that's being created within this psychological, to me, it seems like an experiment to a certain degree.
Yes.
Globally. And it's because, well, look, there's no economies, man. Like, you can only have materialism go so far. The only thing that you do afterwards is you need to make money off of ideas and the mind. Because materialism, yeah, but materialism, you can only buy 5 TVs at some point. You can only buy, you know what I mean? So I think the handlers perhaps are, aware of that more, and they've got to create psychological economies.
Well, see it like this. Yeah, you can buy 1 television or 100 televisions, but if there's only shitty things on TV, nobody's gonna want to buy that many televisions. You gotta give them real inspiration to make it worth all it. That's the thing. And Flat Earth does do that, can do that.
Well, for me, what Flat Earth has done is allowed me to rediscover the first explorers of Earth. It allowed me to research, you know, the sailors and their stories. It allowed me to research the birth of religions. It helped me understand the occult and the influence. So yeah, it's been an amazing, amazing psychological journey for me, because when you do realize this information is there and is part of the history, it can be quite depressing to realize that people are this whole entire Earth is actually genuinely and when you find the Matrix to be really true and you're Neo, and all of a sudden you wake up and you pull the plug out, you look around, you become a little bit more selective on who your friends watch.
Yes, you broke up for a sec, but yes.
Science or a new movement, especially that if it's rooted in truth. So I think in 10 years' time, there'll be at least 20 million flat earthers.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Well, only if things go as they go right now. Look, when flat earth starts to hit the sub-mainstream in another way, another angle, and not so ridiculing and more entertaining, more isolating specific subjects and highlighting that, like, ooh, what is the nature of the moon? Is it physical? Is it not? Is it a hollow space station? Blah, blah. Separate subjects. As if this is going to be treated, then I predict that there will be an acceleration that'll make it much faster than within 20 years. It'll be in just a few years if that happens. It all depends on how far can we lay the bar with this information within all the layers of media. How far can we go?
Well, is like, you know, for instance, that Michelle Feller girl, the one that comes out and she goes, you know what? I don't know why people are talking about flat earth. It's not okay. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember that video? She's like that little redheaded troll. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So, well, that's what I mean. So listen,
please.
Yeah, you actually, I have two accounts of, one account of Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that, talking about whether Kyle Irving was college educated. And when the interviewer told Neil that he was college educated, Neil said, well, he better stay away from NASA then. That's what he said. And you've got him saying that, then you've got Michelle Feller saying, well, flat earth is not okay to discuss. So my point is how do we gather that together and make that more apparent of like showing what they're actually doing. They don't want you to learn. Hey, no, look at this lady. She's mainstream. She's an astrophysicist, or she's an astronomer, and she works for NASA, and she doesn't want you to study flat Earth. Why is that? You know, you've got Neil deGrasse Tyson afraid of a college-educated basketball star. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know. People are
seems like damage control to me.
Well,
this is why all of a sudden we have the First Man movie. We got, you know, China all of a sudden decided to land on the far side of the moon. I mean, come on. This is all collateral. I mean, it's just them trying to clean this up. Because this is bad for them. This is why that Michelle lady will say, "Oh, it's not okay." Really? It's not okay to think what I think. Okay, thanks, lady. It's crazy. So I don't know.
It's the biggest lie. It's
not okay to think the Earth is flat.
Well, I think Constance said it best earlier when she said that there's ugly truths and there's pretty truths. So things like 9/11, for instance, they are definitely ugly truths. You know, they show the worst in humanity and how they were able to try and convince people of what actually didn't actually happen. You know, to get us into a war. Look at all the people that have suffered throughout the Middle East. through that agenda from that one thing. And that is an ugly truth. And then you have pretty truths. So you have like Sandra P900 Coolpix is doing pretty truths. So she'll set a camera up and she'll show you the Isle of Man from Blackpool, and it's all got nice music behind it, and it's very pretty truths. Pretty truth, ugly truths. My channel's an ugly channel, I'll be honest, because it shows, in the global's mind, it shows curvature, because it's obstruction. So, and also there are flat earthers, for instance, like the Limitless channel and stuff like that, who look at this kind of stuff and they can't process it either. You know, they've got this kind of
well, Ranty, correct me if I'm wrong. Look, it should be very concise. People standing on a shore claiming curvature at 4 miles. That's what essentially they're doing. They're saying, look, the diffraction limit's at 3.87 miles away from my eye. That creates a horizon. Everything beyond that horizon goes down past the curve. Well, if that's the case, you're claiming curvature at 4 miles.
Yeah.
So they have to realize, look, you're claiming curvature at 4 miles. If you are, that means the 5th, 6th, 7th mile, it's curving still. But if I elevate, there's no looking down anymore. I still look outward. So where does the curve go? Right? So it just doesn't make sense that they're claiming curvature at 4 miles. How big is the Earth? If you were to lock in that 4 mile understanding that the Earth curves, then 8 mile, it should be how much? 10 mile, it should be how much? It goes exponential, right? But the fact that you're arguing that standing at the shoreline and claiming curvature at 4 miles isn't the argument makes my mind blow.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that my proofs are essentially ugly proofs. So I will be showing what the globers would consider as being a globe proof by showing an inferior mirage or showing blockage, because we do see blockage. There's no denying that when we look over at water at some point, you know, we will encounter blockage. It's understanding what that blockage is, though. So I'm kind of a divisive figure in flat Earth, because a lot of people are understanding the optical side of it now, because I'm actually addressing it head on. But it is ugly and it's dirty, and there's a lot of people out there that are making videos about my work and stuff. But I'm still getting 10, 15, 20 subscribers every day at the moment. So, you know, I'm actually appealing to a lot more people than they would have thought, you know, because people are understanding that what I'm saying is actually true. It's ugly, but it's true.
You've got two elements. You've got diffraction and refraction when you're looking at these lights. And the diffraction is basically light at that certain point where your eye cannot receive it. And that's usually at your horizon line. The refraction is usually has to do with the dissipation of heat due to water, because a lot of the refraction happens over water, right? So what it is, it's the heat exchange and the water basically evaporating off the surface, causing the refraction. But a lot of people don't understand what diffraction is and the limitation of light. There is a limitation of light. Your eye will cut things off at angles. That's how your eye is, and that's how the Rayleigh criteria describes optics, through the aperture of your eye, right? So your videos are great, and they understand. You can teach people a lot about refraction, but I don't hear a lot of diffraction in the conversation. Basically, looking at an object on a flat plane, if you were to shine a flashlight at it or have an angled flashlight at it, you're not going to see the entire plane. You're only going to see what light bounces off that plane due to diffraction, due to the amount of light that's going to hit your eye. It's all parallel lines hitting you, right? So there is a limitation to that point where you can't see beyond that plane because of diffraction. The light doesn't come back to you. It won't resolve.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you look at their little models that they do, the boat going over the curve, you've seen the one where they have a little scale model of the boat going over the curve.
Love it, fantastic.
But there's no atmosphere, you know.
It's not that, but they're claiming. Yeah, but listen, the model is claiming 4 miles of curvature, dude. The model is useless in itself. If you're claiming 4 miles, the Earth curves. How fucking big is the Earth? Do you know what I mean?
I heard a good one there the other day, right? This guy, it was brilliant. He kind of fucked up these ballers, right? For example, myself, Raggy, and Arwen are down the beach. Arwen says, I'm going to stand on the beach and you and Ranty are going to walk 2 miles away from me, right? So how much curve is it after 2 miles? What's that, 32 inches, right?
Yeah.
So me and Arwen are 32 inches below, apparently, Ranty, who's got his P1000 out and watching us. I've turned around and given him the finger. But so I say to Arwen, right, Arwen, mate, I says, you're going to walk another 2 miles away from me. So he walks 2 miles away from me, and he'll be 32 inches below me, yeah? Right? So then, how far below is he, Ranty?
Let's have a look on the curvy calcs.
No. Listen, you're missing the point. Don't go to the curve calculator. Think about it.
Why not?
If I walk with you, Arwen, 2 miles away from Ranty, we are now 32 inches below me. You walk 2 miles away from me, you're 32 inches below me, yeah? I'm 32 inches below Ranty. That's 64 inches. What happened to the other? What is it?
It's 10 and a half foot, essentially. But I know what he's saying. It's the same with the wind turbines. It's the same point we made with the wind turbines, that the wind turbines are a certain distance apart. Yeah, there should be a more exponential curve, so you should see them curving when you're looking at them from 9 or 15 miles away. And you're not seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And that argument, it should end it there. It should be reinforced and reiterated over that particular thing. You're claiming curvature at 4 miles. Let's acknowledge that part. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. If you are claiming curvature at 4 miles, then show me what 5 miles looks like, 6 miles, 7 miles, because you're saying that it's going past the 4 mile horizon. So there indubitably should be evidence of that, and there's not.
It's like that one with the river. Here's another one I used to fuck with them, right? So we're by the side of the river. Right now, apparently we're always, relative to us, we're always on top of the ball. And Arwen, if he takes his walk up the river, he'll be lower than me. But wait a minute. From his perspective, he's higher than me. So then, if I'm higher than him, the water should be flowing away from me towards Arwen. Right? But if he's at the top and he looks at the water, it should be flowing towards me. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense what they're telling you. It's like right in front of your face. It's impossible. You can't be in the top. If I'm on top of the ball and the water's flowing away from me, therefore, and from Arwen's perspective, the water should be flowing away from him towards me, because he's higher up than me, right?
Well, how the tides work on the ball? 1 minute they're going, one minute they're flowing down, and then they'll be flowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that depends where you're standing, Ranty. It's all relative, my friend. It's all relative. And that's,
you know where the word do you know where the word antipode came from?
No.
The word, it's 2,500 years old, this word, antipode. It comes from the book of Zohar, which is the Kabbalistic teaching of Ein Sof. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, it's quite interesting how this word it's lost. But people like to use it, and it comes from the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah, I should say. Yeah. I just find it funny that a lot of people who are not not into God, but yet are really, they practice all these holidays and traditions, and it's just too funny, man.
What do you think it is then, guys? Right, here's a question to the whole panel, right? What do you think it is that we can accept? We're seeing it flat, right? So why don't, what makes us different from the people that don't see it as flat? What's the...
Well, there's a couple angles. There's a couple angles I thought about, and one of them was, okay, so like if there is, we all we all are under the impression through the research of this, there's a creator. At least that's my understanding, right? Let's say that there was a creator, or there is a creator, but let's say in this scenario, I'm sussing things out. So I'm thinking, okay, if there's a creator, but I'm not really into the creator, how would the creator send a message, right? Because fundamentally, the message that's going around in society is the end of times. The doomsday clock is increased. We've got 12 years left before the pollution is too much to handle. We want a one world government in 10 years. You know what I mean? So you see these things in mainstream come forth, right? You also see gender dysphoria. You see rampant opioid use. You see there's no more families anymore. You see that the politicians are getting away with murder, literally. You see that, you know, it's just this exponential, all these exponential events are happening. So you're going to say, well, if I'm not really religious, but I created you, you're not really religious, how am I going to get you to look into it? That's one idea, right? So he puts a fire in your ass to actually research. He doesn't want to tell you to go to the Bible. He wants to, no, you don't believe the Bible. That's fine. That's fine. Here's the man who teaches the science on this. Here's the man who taught the science on that. Here's water. Here's how to fly a plane. I'm looking at it from my perspective, right? Like in that sense, is that I didn't start out at the Bible. Okay, I knew the creator stuff, and I knew all, but I was nowhere near as religious or into God now than I was when I was during my journey. In other words, it wasn't as relevant in my life. I didn't see the things I see now and go, oh, that's God. That's, you know what I mean? To be a little bit exaggerated, but then there's the other side of it is like, okay, well, if you look, there is actually no economy anymore with materialism. The cycle of buying things and taking debt on doesn't work. People just walk away, and it's evident. They hide the numbers, they do it all, but it's there. People don't pay when the times are tough. People don't pay their debts back. So this materialistic thing of materialism is going to end. It's not sustainable. So I look at it like that. Well, what's sustainable? Well, food. You can always get people to eat. Death. You know, I suppose if you're going to have the free trade and all these trade agreements to, you know, keep the fictitious system going, right, to a certain degree, because it's all about trading resources back and forth for gain for whatever institute, but it's supposed to be mutual gain, right? The system itself is just not sustainable. We're seeing that by the inflation. We're seeing that in other countries. We're seeing that in Greece where it collapsed, you know. So they have to create economies. And the only thing they can do is online right now, they can create, you know, subgroups of, I don't know, different religions, different businesses, different ways to make money. You know, the Bitcoin's a new economy. You know what I mean? So the way I think things have to evolve is they have to go back to the mind, because you can't be.
Yeah, but what made us different, Fed? What made us? How is it right that there's a group that are going about and making clearly see? You know, I'm an open-minded person. I don't.
You're cutting out, Ali B. I didn't get that first part.
Oh, sorry. I'm okay now.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Hello? All right. I'm just. This is what I'm wondering. How is it that we've taken so easily to it, where there's other people that haven't, even though, I mean, we are seeing it as, there's no doubt about it, that when we look across and we see Ranty and Sandra's pictures and stuff like that, and you know about gyroscopes and all that kind of thing, what is it that makes us different, that we actually see it and they don't? I know some of them are denying it or whatever, but some of them actually believe that we are crazy.
We have a light switched on and they don't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but how did it happen? What made us
well, I have an interesting idea on that. It could you know, would you be surprised that, okay, so there are types of blood types on Earth, right? Now, this is far-fetched. This is like frou-frou thinking for now. I haven't done much into it. I just speculated. There are types of blood types on Earth, right? And there's like 4 or 5 different blood types. Is that correct? There's 4 different types of blood. Yeah, something like that. Maybe 5. I can't remember. Well, there are certain needs that each blood type has. Now, I don't know if you ever researched food for blood types, but it's quite interesting, the study of that, and how certain blood groups carry certain enzymes and certain antibodies and certain things that other blood groups don't carry. Now, at a genetic level, that's what I'm looking at, is our disposition genetically and different blood types. I'm wondering, now here's psychologically, we are a lot of right people. Right to middle are flat earthers. It's not a lot of liberals that are flat earthers. It's a lot of right people who already essentially think there's a creator and a God, there, or that inclining is already there. What correlation?
Not necessarily, but
majority, I'd say. But anyway, the correlation to blood type, I haven't done that yet. I don't know. I haven't gone out and asked, gone to a flat earth convention. Hey, what blood type are you? Do you know? I don't know if there's a correlation to that disposition genetically. I don't know if there's a correlation. I mean, there's a correlation between being on the paradigm of left or right. There's a correlation. It tends to be more right to believe flat earth. So far, my research, which is quite interesting. And to me, if you look, it seems to be that the left media, extreme left particularly, have been in control for a very long time of the media. And I'm thinking, well, if you're a political organization, or you were a think tank of psychologists, and you knew that the right was peaceful and sort of docile, and they have more family values, they're more just complacent to work and raise their families. The right, the lefts are, to me, into I don't know, partying more, dressing up more, experimentation more. Not that there's not rights that don't experiment. That's what I'm suggesting. I'm just saying that liberal in the terminology seems to be evident of the disposition. And they display that disposition by their laws, by their interests, and by their demands. So I'm thinking, is it a way to rise the right? Is it a way to put a Christian step in it? I mean, Owen Benjamin said 2-3 days ago, I don't know if you guys listened to him, but Owen Benjamin said 2 or 3 days ago that there's anti-Semitic laws, there are anti-Islamophobic laws, but there's no anti-Christian laws. You can insult Jesus, you can call a Christian a faggot, you can you can do whatever you want to Christianity in a sense, and it doesn't have the same laws in place. So I found that quite interesting as well. But then as well, when he mentioned it in an aggressive tone, and he ended up yelling, going, why isn't that bother people? And so I think, okay, is that a trigger? Is that a trigger phrase? Because you don't know who we're dealing with. We don't know who people are in the mainstream. We don't know, we don't know what's coming at us. It takes time for it to be revealed, in my opinion, right? So, yeah.
What do you think, Constance? You've been quiet for quite some time now. What would you say?
Yeah, that'll be nice to hear.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, hi there. I also, I'm more aware now than I ever was. Well, let me rephrase that. I was very aware as a child. Things happened. I know they weren't under my control. I was protected. I was extremely literally saved from death several times. And the more I studied the scriptures, and again, when people say it's the Bible, I'm like, which Bible are you talking about? Can we just call it the scriptures? Everything that was written. Read everything. Choose or decide, sorry, figure out what seems to be true, and, put on the back burner what seems to not be right until it fits in. The book contains truth, but it's not the whole truth. If you don't experience the one they're talking about, then you don't know him. You're just learning about him. And even in the story of Job, he declares at the end of his trials or tribulations, I knew about you, now I know you, and I repent. And repent meaning I changed my mind. You're not a God afar off. You're not someone who doesn't care. You're very real. You're very present, and you really do care. So they had a conversation, And I have these conversations. I know I'm not talking to the bad guy, I'm talking to the good guy. And I know what the bad guy sounds like. So the Bible is there, the scriptures are there to be a guide. They're pointing in a direction. They're pointing out human fallacy, human faults, human shortcomings. This is reality. We're not all goody two-shoes. We can't be. But there's a solution, there's a plan, there's a purpose, and it's bigger than anything we can imagine. So I'm sold out, and I'm not a religious
fanatic. Always
fanatic.
been religious, Constance.
I'm not
I was going to ask you.
fanatic. I am talking about a person or a being that became very personal, and I can't do that for you. I can only point to him. I can only show you what he's doing in my life. And it's very personal. It's very real. And it's, gosh, if I didn't have that, I would be a desperate, depressed, and completely hopeless person. I'd have nothing. And I would want to end my life because I don't want to live like that. Not the way it used to be. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I had 2 siblings who ended their lives because they just didn't want to walk another day the way things were. Instead of looking for solutions, they just decided to end it. And I'm not judging them. I'm not judging them. It's reality. And they had a choice, and it hurt all of us. But we learned to deal with it, and we learned to find where inside of us did we have that capability. And again, like I said before, I know I can do bad things. I know I can hurt people. And I know what I've done that falls below the standard of what good and acceptable and right is. So when I'm offered hope and resolution and restoration, if I choose not to grab onto that, it's my fault if I sink and drown. It's on me. It's my choice. And I know people who would rather die miserably than to reach out and take that offer of hope. And that is the saddest thing I can ever imagine.
Do you think it has to do with pride or ego? Because I find that astonishing, and I agree with you. And I'm sorry for your loss. I just had I was extremely close to my uncle. He recently just passed. It was my first death since I was a kid, and so I know your grief and your pain. I can relate a little bit to it. Obviously, I don't know what it's like to have 2 siblings go and do that. But my question to you: do you think it was ego that took over their mind and was like, it's my choice, it's my right, and I don't care, and because what I notice is that a lot of globe heads and a lot of people who aren't interested in the truth, it really just stems from this pride and this ego of going, I'm going to conform to the idea you're fucking nuts, and I'm right. Is it like that sort of response that you go through?
I can't speak for them. I can only try to draw conclusions. I was close to them, but at the same time they were walking their own path. They had a life going on in their privacy that we weren't aware of. There were things I did not know about those 2 siblings until after they died, when a lot of truth came out, and I was completely lost. I had no clue what was going on until it was too late. And they at some point came to a decision. They came to a crossroads and decided they'd rather give up than to press into what was being offered. Either they were blind to it, or they absolutely saw it and said, it's not worth it to me. I'm just tired. I don't want to deal with it. And there's lots of people walking like that. We see them every day. And I call them our, zombies. And they're in pain. They are in need, and they're missing something. They can't find it. They're lost.
Arwen mentioned Arwen.
I would like to contribute some to that conference. Yeah, I'm so sorry for it to hear that, Constance. It's terrible. I had the same experience with one of my nephews. It's a while back now. He was just a couple of years older than me, and I always thought he was awesome because he was creative. He was actually a rapper in a band where he wrote the lyrics and everything, and he was really such a cool guy. But he had, since his early teens, he started to suddenly out of nowhere get like obsession with death syndrome. Yeah. So it was a much more radical version, and there was just everyone that dealt with him had just had to temper him in when he had fey moods, kind of like P. Mars, but his moods were totally obsessed with self-destruction, and he wouldn't act out on it, but he would constantly have it on his mind and have the need to shout it to people that he was just so sick of it all. It was freaky. I personally almost never got to see that, but I did at the last year that he was around. I did see these weird outbursts like that. Very creepy, very anxious. A lot of anxious feelings.
Do you believe in possession then? Do you believe in a form of possession?
No, not this. Not like that. No. Look, possession... hold on. Possession is something else. Possession is very sudden, very abrupt, and very contradicting to previous circumstances, usually. It's very abrupt. If you're building up slowly an obsession or an idea, then, yeah, that's not the same thing. But hold on, please. I had one more thing I wanted to say. In case of your siblings, there's a lot of people out there, especially young people, that have this weird mindset. And I even delved into this a little when I was younger, that, yeah, when you're young, everything is perfect. You have no troubles. You see all your elders and everyone getting old and miserable. And some teens have this weird mindset, like, I am perfect now. And as soon as they start to notice, like, oh my God, I'm growing old now, they want to end it in perfection. This is really a crazy thing, but it's also out there.
That is extreme vanity, I would think.
Yeah, but look out. Well, look what's out there. Look what's being allowed socially by others, by your own, what people allow their own siblings to behave like. It's no wonder that this kind of peak behavior will pop up. People will drown in their insanities if they're indulged to.
Okay, it really does sound kind of like a celebrity vanity thing. Like
yeah, it is, and some teens get completely obsessed with that.
Okay, do you think that the way teenagers and young children are now is well, obviously it's different to the way it was 100 years ago, but do you think that the kids, the way they're brought up now, is an improvement to the way they were brought up 100 years ago?
Not a chance.
Ranty, that's very general.
Okay, well,
some are, some aren't. That's about as specific as I can get.
Okay, well, what about the schooling techniques then?
I remember when homeschooling was illegal. I remember seeing families making the choice to break the law and suffering the consequences. And then when it came my turn to homeschool my child, I did it with joy. I was like, freedom! People pay the price to make those doors open and to make it possible for others to walk through those doors. And in everything that's worth doing, whether it's your spiritual life, your career, your relationships, if it's worth doing well. And to not be allowed to do that is deplorable.
Well,
everyone has the potential, and everyone should be given that freedom If you're going to screw up, you know, it's on you.
Yeah,
You shouldn't have to blame the government and blame society and blame everything. First, let's own up to what's inside of us. The biggest battle is the one that's inside of us. Once you get a hold of that and you have, you learn to exercise self-control, self-discipline, and you stop controlling others. You learn to control yourself instead of others. And I gotta say something. It's been on my heart to say. When Eric Beauchesne started piping up, the last conversation I had with him was what, 3 days ago or something in your own hangout, Randy?
Yeah, I think so.
I behaved in a certain manner. I was responding to him, to his actions, to his words. And then he laid some accusations to me, just painting a picture of me. And I'm like, hey. And after that hangout, I walked over to a Mike Helmick hangout, and I got the sermon that I needed to hear. The word that I needed to hear was judge not, or you will be judged. And I started to, what I call meditate upon, it's chew over, it's mull it, you know, mulling it over. And I saw things in me where I said, I really didn't need to respond to him like that at all. I could have taken another tack. I could have used some humor. I could have used some grace. I could have used some mercy even. I could have called his attention to what his actual needs are and not pound on him, even though I still think he was being completely, you know, extreme. It was on me what I did. I can't blame him for what I did. So I wanted to apologize for my behavior. The girl that talked to him 3 days ago is not the one that is on this camera right now. I have changed.
You shouldn't apologize. I thought you actually, I loved it when you got all the, you actually took control and you actually became the mother. I was laughing because it just sounded, I thought you done really good. Sell a hard time. I thoroughly enjoyed what you done there by saying, right, that's not, and that's too much. Right, let's move it this way. I thought you done very well, actually. I'm quite surprised you felt about it. I don't think you were insulting. I just thought you were very, very firm. You were fair, and yeah, I thought it was cool. Actually, it was quite nice to listen to. Actually, you were like the mother telling everybody else to get in line.
That's cool. I received
that was
that
with Channel Q.
I received that with much joy. Thank you, Ali.
Hey guys,
I thought it was brilliant.
Guys, I've got 10 minutes left, yeah? So if you want to promote your channel in any way, Constance, do you want to talk about your channel perhaps? I've just had a quick look now, subscribed, and I've seen that you've done some, is it chemtrail videos?
I've only done chemtrailing. Everything that I spoke on here today has been on my heart a lot, and I want the best for everyone. And anything that I can share, anything that y'all want to talk about, hey, just hit me up, talk to me. I don't know everything. I'm looking for answers too. And if you have seen something that means something to you, what happened to me yesterday, I just went out and people talked to me, and the words that came out, I seemed to have something they needed to hear, and they received it, and something good happened. And so one couple's going, can I have your, do you give talks somewhere? I'm like, I talk to everybody. And so they said, please give us your email so we can contact you. And I gave them my phone number too. I said, call her anytime. And then I go grocery shopping, and I bump into someone else. And there's just this, it's almost electricity. It's like we're connecting, and we don't know each other from anything. We've never laid eyes on each other before, but all of a sudden you find there's a sister or a brother, or there's someone who needs to hear a word, and you happen to have the word they need to hear. And that's what I meant by yesterday was a synchronicity day for me. the way I talked about it is current, fluidity, flow. And I flow better when I walk in love and truth and in life. And everything else is not good enough. That's my motto. It's just not good enough. I want the best, and I want the best for everyone. So if y'all have anything you want to talk about, hit me up. I'm available through the email yours2000@gmail.com. And when I get Hangouts going, it's going to be so much fun, guys.
Excellent.
Consider making some videos, Constance. Consider sitting in front of a camera and just speaking up, doing little stories or whatever, and we will participate. We will support you. You're really cool. I like you a lot.
And you're always welcome on my Flat Earth Early Bird show, by the way.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Ranty. Thank you, Anthony.
For one,
Anthony.
I want to thank you, Constance, for showing up here, and like your positivity is awesome. Like I always felt that, even from just the chats, and now hearing your voice and listening to your words, like
same here.
You are really awesome. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you for definitely. Thank you for coming, Constance. Do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been wonderful.
Flat Earth Data. Anything you want to say to P Mars, or anything you want to say about your own channel?
Thanks, Ranty, for doing that video. It was very nice of you to go to your way to expose the event that happened. I wanted to thank you for that. Constance, thanks for sharing your emotional availability by telling us your story, and much appreciated. As far as my channel goes, I'm interested in being an activist and interviewing more and more pilots as I go. I'm going to be flying from Vancouver, hopefully to Nova Scotia, which is a 3,000-kilometer trip, and I'll be doing some more experiments on that flight, and then also going and confronting pilots based on another experiment. So I'll be doing stuff like that and just posting. My main focus really is just going to be about aviation, I think, and interviewing pilots, and having fun with that, having fun with getting my license. And if anybody's interested in watching that process, go to Flat Earth Data, and there's Flat Earth Data 2, just in case I get another PMARS. I honestly think it was a great lesson for me, because I'll learn two facets here. I'll learn how YouTube handles that, and I'll learn what my lawyer says about, like, I'll learn a little bit of a legal thing here, and then also on the same hand, it helped me grow my channel, it helped me grow some subscribers. So it's bad news is not necessarily bad news, you know what I mean? And I actually did genuinely have a really good laugh about what happened, because I don't know I didn't know else how to respond except for with a big laugh. So because when you saw him do the video, you saw this sort of rush behavior, and you're looking at him, so what the fuck is he doing? And then as I see that, my screen goes fucking, I've been removed. And I'm like, what? And so I immediately laugh. I'm like, that's what he was doing. And too funny, right? And so yeah, Randy, thanks for the video. Thanks for helping me gain some stuff. And thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, look forward to more chat.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Anybody else got anything to say?
Nope.
Anybody else want to
channel?
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody.
Shout out Retracted. No,
shout out to everybody Retracted.
Hey, what's going on, Chocolate saying? What's going on?
Chilling, man. I'm good.
Is new
I came through, man. I'm sorry that happened to you yesterday, but I'm glad, like, me, you, and Nancy were in the chat. We witnessed it, saw what happened. So, you know.
Well, I'm more curious to know how YouTube's going to respond legally to having me being removed from my own Hangout. I want to know how that's possible, right?
Yeah, that's a crazy thing, man.
It's a bad mechanism. It's a bad mechanism. I've complained about it.
I just want a legal response, right?
It should be easy to update, but they're probably not doing it on purpose because they're holding back their very advanced updated model for the Internet 2 system, where they have full corporate control. So
There you are.
they have it, but they're not giving it to us.
Right. Well, they're removing Google Hangouts in 2019 anyway. It's the last year of it, isn't it?
Wow, really?
Data, I also want to say, keep getting these pilots on camera, because it's something I noticed that the ballers don't really do. They don't roll up to the pilots and ask them how do they, you know, correct for curvature. You know, I haven't really seen any ballers doing that. And every time I see a pilot speaking about this on camera, they usually come out with it's pretty flat or something to that effect. You know, so keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, well, that's all it is. It's gathering data and having pilots destroy their assertion. This one pilot I asked, he didn't even know how a driver worked on his fucking aircraft. So that was one disturbing moment. He didn't know what pendulous vanes were. He didn't know. He just knew of
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, and I have that on camera.
There's a lady pilot, female pilot that just got interviewed a little while ago, and she, I mean, other than basically saying the Earth is flat, I mean, everything the guy, I can't remember who made that interview, but basically everything that he asked her, she confirmed and was like, yeah, it's pretty flat. We don't deal with the rotation at all. I mean, it was right there. All she needed to say was Earth is flat, but basically that's kind of what she said. So keep doing it, man.
Arwin,
Yeah, it's fun.
Plug your channel?
Yeah.
Plug your early bird?
Sure. Yeah, everyone's always welcome on my Flat Earth Early Bird show. It is kind of early if you're in the United States. Otherwise, it's going to be in the afternoon if you're going to be in Europe, or in the evening/night if you're going to be in Asia or Australia. But I do the show every single day, same time. Sometimes it's going to be 1 hour. Sometimes it's going to be up to 4 hours. If the panel is right, if it's really going well, and if I'm in the mood for it. And yeah, every day you're always welcome. I invite people to the panel through Skype. So yeah, add me on Skype if you want to be part of it. And yeah, we have discussions between ballers and flat earthers, or flat earthers among one another. It's a wide show with wide variety of subjects, and sometimes it's just me 3 days in a row just talking an hour long. So it all depends on the mood of everyone and what's happening. And yeah, everyone's welcome.
Jose, do you want to plug yours? And Chucky?
Jose JG Gonzalez. Subscribe to my channel. I will continue doing observations and sharing with you guys. And I will be showing up in Hangouts whenever I'm available. And keep up the good work, everybody. Thank you for having me.
And Chucky? How close are you
Well,
to
I haven't made any content yet. I'm planning on hopefully getting either P900 or P1000, hopefully by the summer. I'm actually looking into that hard. I wanted to start doing some observations, but most likely they're going to be of the moon, stars, because I have a pretty good vantage point and I don't really have water next to me, so I'll try to start doing some observations. But yeah, that'll be coming up soon, hopefully.
Just out of curiosity, guys, mathematically speaking, if you were going to do a scaled down version of Earth, and like for instance, I did an experiment with scaling down Mount St. Helens with Mount Jefferson, Mount Hood, Mount Adams, and Mount Rainier in the picture. And what I did is I went to the map and I scaled all the measurements. I scaled all the measurements down, and I applied it into smaller scale and took a photograph of it, and it matched observable reality. Right? And I was wondering if anybody went and did small scale, because theoretically it's 8" per mile squared is the mathematics for curvature, right? That's the idea of Pythagoras' theorem, is that at 8 inches per mile it's going to drop, right? That's the ball math, right? Mm-hmm. So you should be able to scale that down over 200 miles miniature scale. Just doing prep. And anyway, I just thought it would be interesting. I mean, mathematically speaking, if you're going to model Earth and you're going to have little mountains and you're going to do this observation, you would scale down the physical curvature based on the mathematics, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're doing this measurement and you're doing things out, I challenge any glober to make me a model applying in a smaller version, the 8 inch per mile squared over, let's say 200 miles, but scaled down. So 200 miles would be what? Maybe 275 kilometers. So let's say we turn that into 275 centimeters. That would be like 5-6 feet, right? So you're looking maybe at a 6 foot to 12 foot scale model showing mountains and curvature, and then actually demonstrating that and proving that versus a ball, but then trying to match, but then trying to match that observation in reality.
Something to think about. I might try it myself on the running track where I live. So I can go down. There's 100 meters there, so I could probably scale things to a scale along that flat track.
And you know what's really interesting? I was at an event last year, and I took my P900 to the ground, and it was really hot. So you know, you have dissipation, you have the vapors of the ground, the concrete. There's no water around, but you still have the same effect as you would with water, but not as extreme. It's a slight different effect. It's more of direct dissipation of the heat transfer from hot and cold. That's why we see the wavy lines, right? That's what's happening. Is it's cooling off, therefore it's evaporating and going up to find its space, right? So when you put your P900 down close to the ground, and it's a really, like, do a football field or a soccer field with the turf, the fake turf,